Chapter 876. Could it be that he has been reincarnated more than twice? The domain master of Huangshan Star region has been in seclusion for 5,000 years. With the talent of Huangshan Star region, he may be able to break through in less than 5,000 years and become the only emperor in Huangshan Star region. The ministers of Tianhuo dynasty were very worried. If they were still waiting for the emperor to come back, they might be destroyed by the domain master of Huangshan Star region before the emperor came back. At this time, an old man stood up and said, "I firmly oppose becoming a subsidiary dynasty of Huangshan Star region." When His Majesty the Emperor left, he did not say that he would not come back. If His Majesty the Emperor comes back one day and sees that we betrayed him, have you ever considered what will happen to the Tianhuo dynasty and what will happen to you? That's right. It was His Majesty the Emperor who saved us and brought us to Huangshan Star region. That's why the Tianhuo dynasty was established. How can we betray His Majesty the Emperor? Whoever wants to betray the Emperor, I will fight him to the death. At this time, the whole hall was in chaos. Some people agreed to surrender to the domain master of Huangshan, while others firmly opposed it. Seeing the chaos in the hall, Mu Zhengqing, who was sitting on the dragon chair, turned black in an instant. He thought to himself that he should not have introduced people from outside the Huangshan Star region, otherwise there would not be such a situation today. Most of the people in the Tianhuo dynasty were not from the Huangshan Star region. They were brought to the Huangshan Star region by the Emperor of Heaven. The star region they originally lived in was destroyed for some reasons and they lost their homes. The Emperor of Heaven brought them to the Huangshan Star region and let them settle down here. When they came to the Huangshan Star region, there were not many people in the Huangshan Star region. The Huangshan Star region is located at the edge of the universe, and there are space turbulence around it. It is not a good place. However, no matter how bad the place is, it is a good place for people in the Tianhuo dynasty who have no home. At that time, many forces were competing for the world of the Huangshan Star region. In order to build the Tianhuo dynasty as soon as possible and gain a foothold in the Huangshan Star region, Mu Zhengqing had to introduce a large number of people from other worlds. As the population of the Tianhuo dynasty increased, the Tianhuo dynasty also grew rapidly. Mu Zhengqing also introduced many people from other worlds into the court, but this also brought a lot of trouble, just like now. Those who have not received the favor of the Emperor of Heaven have no awe of the Emperor of Heaven. In their opinion, the Emperor of Heaven has been away for so long, and he may have abandoned them long ago. What kind of person is the Emperor of Heaven? How could he stay in such a remote star field? Seeing that Mu Zhengqing's face was a little ugly, the people in the hall gradually stopped arguing, and after a while, the hall was quiet again. Mu Zhengqing said, "Whether the Emperor of Heaven will come back or not, the Tianhuo dynasty will always be the Tianhuo dynasty of the Emperor of Heaven." Hearing Mu Zhengqing's words, the faction in the court that did not agree to surrender to the Lord of Huangshan territory felt extremely happy in an instant. Fortunately, their Majesty did not forget his original intention. If even their Majesty thought that the Emperor of Heaven would not come back, they could do whatever they wanted, that would be troublesome. Some people were happy, and naturally some people felt very uncomfortable. The ministers of the surrender faction had gloomy faces and did not speak. Not all of these ministers have received benefits from the Emperor of the Mountain Domain. A large part of them are thinking from the perspective of the Skyfire dynasty. After all, the Emperor of Heaven is too far away, while the Emperor of the Mountain Domain is too close. Even if the Skyfire dynasty really encounters something, the Emperor of Heaven will most likely not come back. If they do not surrender to the Emperor of the Mountain Domain now, they will only have two endings left, either leaving the Emperor of the Mountain Star region or waiting to die. Mu Zhengqing glanced at the ministers in the hall again. He had basically remembered who were the surrenderists. Just as Mu Zhengqing was about to continue speaking, a voice suddenly sounded in his mind. Mu Zhengqing's brain was shocked and his expression became a little dull. Seeing that the Fire Emperor suddenly stopped talking, the ministers looked at Mu Zhengqing curiously. Seeing Mu Zhengqing's shocked expression, the ministers felt very confused. What happened to their majesty? Could it be that he received some bad news? Could it be that the emperor of the mountain domain has broken through and become a great emperor? When they thought of this possibility, the ministers in the hall also showed worried expressions on their faces. Before the ministers asked Mu Zhengqing immediately stood up from the dragon chair and said, "Today's court meeting ends here." After the voice fell, Mu Zhengqing turned and left the hall, leaving only the ministers in the hall looking at each other. For a time, panic spread in the hall. They had never seen such an expression on the face of the Fire Emperor. Something must have happened. After leaving the council hall, Mu Zhengqing did not go to the study, but came to the underground practice room. Entering the underground practice room, Mu Zhengqing immediately activated the soundproof formation to prevent people outside from eavesdropping. The next moment, Lu Chen's figure appeared in front of Mu Zhengqing. Seeing the man in the white and gold dragon robe in front of him, Mu Zhengqing was extremely excited for a while, and even forgot to speak at the first time. After coming to his senses, Mu Zhengqing quickly knelt on the ground. "Greetings to His Majesty the Emperor of Heaven." "Your Majesty the Emperor of Heaven, you finally came to us." After hearing Mu Zhengqing's words, Lu Chen was stunned. He does have the title of Xia Tiandi now, but this title should only be known to people in the Great Xia Dynasty. Why do the forces he just conquered from the system also call him His Majesty the Emperor of Heaven? Lu Chen quickly realized that this should be related to his previous life. Since he recovered some memories of his previous life, he knew that the forces he conquered were actually related to his previous life. For example, the Black Dragon Holy Land was conquered by him in his previous life for some reasons. The entire Black Dragon Holy Land was centered on him. Later, after he was killed by the Emperor Shenwu and sent to the Tianchen world for training, the system gave him the Black Dragon Holy Land as a reward. As for the forces in the Tianchen world, they are basically related to the Black Dragon Holy Land. But then again, there is no Tianhuo dynasty in his memory of his previous life? What's going on? And he was just the son of the Emperor Shenwu in his previous life, and it was impossible for him to call himself the Emperor of Heaven. Could it be that? Lu Chen thought of a possibility. There are many layers of seals in the Samsara stone. He only unlocked the first layer. Could it be that he has reincarnated not only twice, but also many lives? After Lu Chen came back to his senses, he said lightly, "I have now established the Great Xia Dynasty in Chaos Star Sea. You send some trustworthy people to Chaos Star Sea." Chaos Star Sea? Mu Zhengqing seemed a little confused when he heard these four words. Although Chaos Star Sea was next to Huangshan Star region, he, like other forces in Huangshan Star region, had never heard of Chaos Star Sea. Lu Chen took out the star map at this time. The next moment, the star map filled the entire stone chamber. Then Lu Chen continued, "This is the star map." Seeing that Chaos Star Sea was next to Huangshan Star region, Mu Zhengqing was stunned. It was so close. The Emperor of Heaven really did not abandon them. End of this chapter. Chapter 877. If you want to be a traitor, first ask the sword in my hand if it agrees. Lu Chen didn't know the situation of the Huangshan Star territory at this time. Since the Huangshan Star territory was right next to the Chaos Star Sea, and the Kanghai sect came from the Huangshan Star territory, sooner or later the Great Xia Dynasty would have a head-on conflict with the Huangshan Star territory. So Lu Chen said to Mu Zhengqing, "Get up and tell me the situation in the Huangshan Star region." Mu Zhengqing said, "Yes, His Majesty the Emperor of Heaven." Immediately afterwards, Mu Zhengqing told Lu Chen some of the major events that happened after the Emperor of Heaven left the Huangshan Star territory. After hearing that the Emperor of Heaven had been gone for tens of thousands of years, Lu Chen was basically certain that he had indeed lived more than one life. Before he was reincarnated as the prince of the Shenyu dynasty, he had one more life, and he also became the emperor in that life, but for some reason he had an accident and was reincarnated again. It seems that only after the second seal of the reincarnation stone is unlocked can we know how many memories of past lives we still have. Thinking of this, Lu Chen asked, how long will it take for the Emperor Mountain Territory Lord to break through to the realm of the Great Emperor? What Lu Chen is most worried about right now is the Lord of the Imperial Mountain. The opponent is so close to him. Now he only has the strength of the Saint Realm at most. If he puts on the Holy Glory armor for the Ruiting Realm monks from the Skyfire Dynasty, he can get it. More than 100 men close to the Saint. But the Emperor and the Saint are not on the same level. Even if he has more than 100 subordinates with the strength of a Saint, he may not be the opponent of the Emperor. Hearing Lu Chen's question, Mu Zhengqing replied, His Majesty the Emperor of Heaven, I don't know this, but it is rumored that he has obtained a treasure that can help him become an emperor. Maybe he will be able to become an emperor in 5,000 years at the latest. Lu Chen pondered for a moment. If it took the other party 5,000 years to become emperor, then the lord of the Huangshan territory would not pose much of a threat. But the other party is already a quasi-emperor, and he might break through to become a great emperor tomorrow. Of course, it is not easy to break through and become the great emperor. If it were so easy to become the emperor, the great emperor would have disappeared all over the universe. But having said that, even if the other party didn't break through and become the great emperor, with that person's quasi-emperor strength, I might not be able to compete with him. Fortunately, the lord of the Huangshan territory has already gone into seclusion. A person of his level who has been in seclusion for thousands of years, or who has broken through to the realm of the great emperor, will not leave the seclusion in advance. Thinking of this, Lu Chen felt a little relieved. He still had enough time to grow. Only, if he wants to obtain rewards from the system, he needs to absorb the luck of other worlds. Now the Huangshan Star territory is blocked outside the Chaos Star Sea. There are many life worlds in the Huangshan Star territory, but if he takes action against the world in the Huangshan Star territory, it will definitely attract the attention of the Emperor of the Huangshan territory. This is a big problem. However, there are so many life worlds in the Huangshan Star region. If we only attack a few life worlds, we shouldn't attract any attention, right? Moreover, he could ask the Skyfire Dynasty to take action, so that it would not attract the attention of the lord of the Huangshan territory. After all, it was normal for dynasties to have wars between dynasties. Thinking of this, Lu Chen had a plan in mind. Then he said to Mu Zhengqing, I have a conflict with the Kanghai sect in the Huangji world. Please inquire about the situation of the Kanghai sect. Hearing the words Kanghai sect, Mu Zhengqing thought in his heart that this Kanghai sect is so brave and dares to offend His Majesty the Emperor of Heaven. He must help His Majesty the Emperor deal with the people of the Kanghai sect. Thinking of this, Mu Zhengqing said, Yes, His Majesty the Emperor of Heaven. Lu Chen then said, Okay, let's do this for now. Another thing is that the person you send to Chaos Star Sea must be a reliable person. Mu Zhengqing said, Please rest assured, Your Majesty, the people sent by this junior generation will definitely be your die-hard loyalists. With Mu Zhengqing's words, Lu Chen felt relieved. After listening to Mu Zhengqing's words just now, what Lu Chen was most worried about was that Mu Zhengqing would not send people who would later join the Skyfire Dynasty. Lu Chen has now basically figured out some of the characteristics of system rewards. People rewarded by the system are 100% loyal, but people who are 100% loyal must have a certain relationship with themselves in previous lives. A large number of people in the Skyfire Dynasty joined later, and there is a high probability that this group of people are not included in the Skyfire Dynasty. These people probably have little loyalty to themselves. Lu Chen then said, Let's do this for now. After the people from the Skyfire Dynasty come to the Chaos Star Sea, I will give you new orders. As soon as he finished speaking, Lu Chen turned off the space-time mirror. After seeing Lu Chen's figure disappear in the stone room, Mu Zhenqing's face became very serious. He had been vaguely aware of Lu Chen's situation. He has already guessed in his heart that Their Majesty the Emperor of Heaven has been reincarnated. Otherwise, with the strength of the Emperor of Heaven, there is no need to worry about the quasi-emperor of the Huangshan Star region, let alone the quasi-emperor. In the heyday of the emperor's strength, even several great emperors could not join forces. His opponent. These remnants of the Skyfire dynasty were saved by the Emperor of Heaven at the hands of several great emperors. It seems that it is not appropriate for me to tell too many people about the Emperor of Heaven. If this news spreads, once the enemies of the Emperor of Heaven know about it, the Emperor of Heaven will definitely suffer revenge. Mu Zhenqing didn't think any more and left the stone room. A moment later, Mu Zhenqing appeared in the royal cemetery of the Skyfire dynasty. The safety of the Emperor of Heaven is of paramount importance, and Mu Zhenqing plans to send a person who is at ease to protect the Emperor of Heaven until the Emperor's strength is restored again. When Mu Zhenqing appeared in the cemetery, a breeze blew, making the bamboo forest in the cemetery rustle. At this time, a cold and slightly unhappy voice came, "What are you doing here?" Before Mu Zhenqing could speak, the woman's voice came again, "Why, did you listen to those people and really want to lead the Skyfire dynasty to betray the Emperor and join the Emperor of the Royal Mountain Domain?" Seeing the woman so unhappy, Mu Zhenqing sighed slightly in his heart. He knew that she still had resentment towards him. After all, it was he who took the initiative to absorb people from other worlds to join the Skyfire dynasty, which resulted in most of the people in the Skyfire dynasty now not being from the Skyfire clan. Mu Zhenqing then bowed to the bamboo forest and said, "Greetings, ancestor. I came here today for an important matter." The woman said coldly, "If it is to betray the Emperor of Heaven, then there is no need to discuss it with me. I have only one thing to say. If you want to be a traitor, ask the sword in my hand first whether it agrees or not." Mu Zhenqing said directly, "My coming here today is indeed related to the Emperor of Heaven, but I have no intention of betraying the Emperor of Heaven. Please rest assured, ancestor." As soon as these words came out, a gust of wind blew, and the leaves of the bamboo forest fluttered in the wind. The next moment, a woman in green appeared not far from Mu Zhenqing. The woman had a slender figure and a beautiful face. She held a sword in her hand and exuded a faint Taoist charm. She looked like a human sword fairy. At this time, the woman raised the sword in her hand and said to Mu Zhenqing with a cold face, "When you let people from other worlds enter the Tianhuo dynasty, you have already betrayed the Emperor of Heaven." End of this chapter. Chapter 878 Mu Qinglan. Seeing the woman pointing her sword at him, Mu Zhenqing just smiled faintly, and then said, "I just wanted the Skyfire dynasty to develop and grow. Even if I am given another chance to choose, I will still do it." Back then, the Tianhuo clan who followed the Emperor of Heaven to the Huangshan Star territory did not have many members, and at that time, all major forces were competing for the life world in the Huangshan Star territory. At that time, population was the biggest factor limiting the development of the Skyfire dynasty. It was impossible for the Skyfire clan to control the entire Skyfire world. The most important thing is that it is difficult for the Tianhuo clan to give birth to children. With just a few people like the Tianhuo clan, can the dynasty they established still be called a dynasty? If other worlds had seen that there were only so few people in the Skyfire world, they would probably have had a wrong idea. Moreover, there were so few people in the Skyfire clan at that time, and everyone was extremely precious. If one of them died, one would be missing. The only way to do this was to introduce them to other worlds. People in other worlds will fight for the Skyfire clan. Only in this way can the Skyfire clan be continued. Although the confrontation between the two factions in the court often gave Mu Zhenqing a headache, after he calmed down, he still believed that there was nothing wrong with the decision he made. Seeing that Mu Zhenqing still did not want to repent, Mu Qinglan said coldly, "I will not discuss right and wrong with you. If you came here today just to convince me, then go back." Mu Qinglan was originally the princess of the Tianhuo clan. She never married. In the end, when most of the members of the royal family died, she became the ancestor. Back then, the Tianhuo clan was about to be wiped out by those great emperors. Fortunately, the Emperor of Heaven appeared in time, defeated those great emperors, and brought them to the Huangshan Star territory and gave them a new home. Mu Qinglan was very grateful to the Emperor of Heaven. She had always wanted to repay the Emperor of Heaven. Unfortunately, the Emperor of Heaven had left for tens of thousands of years. It was uncertain whether he would return to the Huangshan Star territory in this life. But even if the Emperor of Heaven never comes back, she will not allow the Skyfire dynasty to betray the Emperor of Heaven. Of course, she actually understood why Mu Zhengqing did what he did in the first place, so she did not stop Mu Zhengqing from introducing people from other worlds into the Skyfire world. But she would never agree to letting the Skyfire dynasty surrender to the Lord of the Imperial Mountain and become a vassal of the Lord of the Imperial Mountain. She can only have one master. Mu Zhengqing asked calmly at this time, "Don't our ancestors want to know the news about the Emperor of Heaven?" As soon as these words came out, sword energy was released from Mu Qinglan's body. In an instant, the entire bamboo forest was destroyed by the flying sword energy. Mu Qinglan looked directly into Mu Zhengqing's eyes and asked, "What do you mean?" Mu Zhengqing no longer hid it and said directly, "The Emperor of Heaven just sent a message to this junior. He is now in a place called Chaos Star Sea near the Huangshan Star region." After hearing Mu Zhengqing's answer, Mu Qinglan's heart, which had been frozen for many years, began to beat crazily. The Emperor of Heaven is back. She couldn't believe her ears. But Mu Qinglan quickly came to her senses. Chaos Star Sea? Why have I never heard of this place? As a saint, she has been to basically all the star fields near the Huangshan Star Field, but she has never heard of a star field called the Chaos Star Sea. Mu Zhengqing took out the Shadow Stone without hesitation. The Shadow Stone recorded the star map that Lu Chen had previously passed on to him. When the star map appeared in front of Mu Qinglan, Mu Zhengqing pointed to a blank star field and said, "This is the Chaos Star Sea." Mu Qinglan immediately said, "It's impossible. I have been to this place before. There is nothing there, only endless void." Mu Zhengqing said, "This is the star map given to me by the Emperor of Heaven. I believe that the Emperor of Heaven will not make a mistake." Mu Zhengqing asked, "I wonder if our ancestors have ever gone deep into that star field?" Hearing this question, Mu Qinglan was slightly startled. It seems that she did not go deep into the star field of fire, because when she got close to it, she found the endless void in front of her. She thought it was the edge of the universe or the black area in front, so she no closer. Some black areas are extremely dangerous for saints. She had just broken through to the saint realm, so she did not take risks, but since that time, she has never been to that star field again. We already know that the star field is an endless void, so naturally there is no value in continuing to explore. Mu Zhengqing continued, "This junior has another piece of news." Mu Qinglan frowned slightly and said, "Say. The Emperor of Heaven has most likely been reincarnated, but his current strength has not yet been restored." Hearing this, the female sword fairy frowned even more. Mu Zhengqing said, "When the Emperor of Heaven left, I was still young and didn't know much, but I also heard from my father that the Emperor of Heaven once told us that if something happened to him, he would probably be reincarnated." Mu Zhengqing didn't know much, but he believed that Mu Qinglan must know the relevant things. When the Emperor of Heaven left, it was Mu Qinglan who personally sent him away. Mu Qinglan thought to herself that he had been reincarnated. Is the outer world really so dangerous? A person as powerful as him had also fallen. After Mu Qinglan came to her senses, she asked, "What did he say to you?" Mu Zhengqing replied, "The Emperor of Heaven asked this junior to send some trustworthy people to the Chaos Star Sea." Mu Qinglan instantly understood what Mu Zhengqing meant. After the reincarnation of the Emperor of Heaven, his strength would definitely not be as strong as before. It will take a long time to become the emperor again. If the former enemies of the emperor know that he has been reincarnated, they will definitely send people to kill him, so Mu Zhengqing wants her to protect the emperor. Mu Qinglan then said lightly, "Okay, I know." As soon as the voice fell, Mu Qinglan's body disappeared on the spot. She couldn't wait to see the man whose appearance she had almost forgotten. After seeing Mu Qinglan disappear, Mu Zhengqing sighed deeply. How could he not know what this ancestor thought, but the emperor was the emperor, and they were destined not to be the same kind of people. After the emperor reincarnated, he would definitely put all his thoughts on restoring his strength. How could he care about the love between men and women? He, the ancestor, was destined to be unrequited love. Mu Zhengqing didn't think about it anymore. He turned around and left the cemetery and began to prepare things to send to the emperor. He thought that the emperor should have just been reincarnated not long ago and needed a lot of cultivation resources to restore his strength, so he planned to send some cultivation resources to the Chaos Star Sea. But he was also a little curious. Since the Chaos Star Sea was so close to the Huangshan Star Domain, why didn't the Emperor of Heaven come directly to the Huangshan Star Domain? Is it because of the quasi-emperor of the Huangshan Domain Lord? After Lu Chen used the space-time mirror to contact Mu Zhengqing, he once again focused all his energy on cultivation. He now wanted to unlock the second seal of the Samsara Stone to see what kind of memories he still had. However, it was difficult for him to improve his realm now. Lu Chen thought to himself that he had to find an opportunity to return to the Tianquan world and continue to practice the 100 phoenixes with his wives and concubines. In this way, his wives and concubines would improve their cultivation and he would also be able to get some feedback on their cultivation. Perhaps this would help him improve his strength faster. End of this chapter. Subscribe to Chinese Novel Audio Wave. Chapter 879 Mu Qinglan and Number 039, S. Little Thoughts. Although he was thinking about returning to Tianquan world, Lu Chen was worried about what to do if someone from Canghai sect came right after he left. It was better to wait until the people from Tianhuo Dynasty came. With the experts sent by Tianhuo Dynasty in Qunren world, he could go back and practice Beifeng Chao Huanggong with his confidants. Just when Lu Chen was thinking about this, he suddenly thought of his saint-level teleportation array. If he could set up a saint-level teleportation array, wouldn't he be able to teleport directly from Tianquan world to Qunren world in a short time in the future if Qunren world encountered danger again? Setting up a saint-level teleportation array requires a large amount of spirit stones. He does not have so many spirit stones now, but Tianhuo Dynasty is such a powerful force, so there must be a lot of spirit stones. Then Lu Chen used the space-time mirror to contact Mu Zhengqing and asked him to bring more spirit stones to Chaos Star Sea. Then he found a place suitable for building a teleportation array in Qunren world. After doing all this, he just needed to wait for the people from Tianhuo Dynasty to arrive with spirit stones. Lu Chen did not wait long. Within a few months, a ferry boat emitting purple light approached the Qunren world. Sensing the approach of a ferry boat, Lu Chen immediately came out of the palace of Fiheng ferry boat, jumped onto the roof of the palace in one step, and stared at the ferry boat in the distance. He was not sure whether the ferry boat was from the Tianhuo dynasty or the Canghai sect, so he seemed a little wary. When the ferry boat was about to reach the Qunren world, it suddenly began to accelerate. At this moment, Mu Qinglan, who was standing on the deck of the ferry boat, was extremely excited after discovering that there was really a life world in this star field. Moreover, she not only discovered the life world, but also discovered a ferry boat that was like a palace. Seeing that ferry boat, she basically confirmed that Mu Zhengqing was telling the truth and that the Emperor of Heaven was indeed in this star field. In fact, she was a little suspicious at first whether Mu Zhengqing had betrayed the Emperor of Heaven and secretly surrendered to the Lord of Huangshan Domain, deliberately using the Emperor of Heaven as bait to lure her to the Chaos Star Sea, and then joined forces with outsiders to deal with her. People's hearts will change. Just because she hasn't changed doesn't mean that others haven't changed either. However, in order to see the Emperor of Heaven, she came to the Chaos Star Sea with a try-it-out mentality. These days, she shuttled through the vast darkness and didn't find any life world. At most, she saw some world fragments. She even doubted whether she had really been fooled by Mu Zhengqing. Until she saw the life world emitting light in the distance, she instantly believed in Mu Zhengqing completely. The most important thing is the immortal boat. Although it was too long ago, there are still some memories deep in her brain. She still remembers that it was the immortal boat that brought the members of their Tianhuo clan to the Huangshan Star region. Mu Qinglan's excitement was a little hard to suppress at this time, and the indifference on her face for tens of thousands of years gradually faded. Is it him? Is he really back? In order to see the Emperor of Heaven as soon as possible, Mu Qinglan immediately controlled the immortal boat and flew towards the Fiheng immortal boat at the fastest speed. Soon, Mu Qinglan's ferry boat arrived outside the Fiheng ferry boat. Mu Qinglan jumped off the ferry boat without hesitation and flew directly towards the Fiheng ferry boat. Lu Chen stood on the roof of the palace, looking at the blue-clothed woman approaching from a distance, and immediately used the system to identify her. Name, Mu Qinglan. Identity, ancestor of the Tianhuo dynasty, former mate of the Emperor of Heaven, secret admirer of the Emperor of Heaven, third-level cultivation of the Saint Realm. She came to the Chaos Star Sea immediately after she learned that you were reincarnated. Rating, 99. Favorability, 100. Seeing Mu Qinglan's profile, Lu Chen was slightly stunned. This Mu Qinglan actually has such a relationship with me? Sure enough, he has a previous life. After Lu Chen came to his senses, he removed the barrier of the Fiheng ferry boat, and then said lightly, "Come in." As soon as the voice fell, Mu Qinglan's body turned into a stream of light and flew directly in front of Lu Chen. When she came in front of Lu Chen, she was completely unconscious. The Emperor of Heaven was still the same as in his previous life, his appearance had not changed, and his temperament was the same. Seeing that Mu Qinglan was staring at him without saying anything, Lu Chen coughed and then said, "Are you the one sent by the Skyfire dynasty?" Hearing this, Mu Qinglan was stunned. She asked tentatively in disbelief, You don't remember me?" Lu Chen said, "Well, I haven't recovered my memory of my previous life yet." Hearing Lu Chen's answer, Mu Qinglan felt a little uncomfortable, but she quickly realized that the Emperor of Heaven was still very weak and had not recovered his memory. It was normal for him not to remember her. When the Emperor of Heaven recovered his memory, he would naturally remember her, and there was no need for her to be too anxious. Mu Qinglan had a very rebellious idea in her heart. Since the Emperor of Heaven had not recovered his memory, did it mean that now was her chance? If it was possible. When she thought of her despicable idea, Mu Qinglan felt extremely restless all over, and a red cloud appeared on her face, completely losing the appearance of a saint. Seeing Mu Qinglan staring at him straight, with a look of prey in her eyes, Lu Chen instantly guessed what Mu Qinglan wanted to do. He was too familiar with this look. His confidants would show this look after not seeing him for a while. Not long ago, Nangang Yuehua and Nangang Qinja looked at him with this look. Mu Qinglan quickly came to her senses. She immediately knelt down and saluted and said, "My slave, Mu Qinglan, pays homage to His Majesty the Emperor of Heaven." A smile appeared on Lu Chen's handsome face. "Get up." "Thank you, His Majesty the Emperor of Heaven." After Mu Qinglan stood up, she didn't say much more. Now that the Emperor has been found, she just needs to follow him and protect him. As for what the Emperor of Heaven was going to do, she didn't really care. Lu Chen took a serious look at Mu Qinglan at this time. Mu Qinglan is wearing a green yun shang, with a tall figure. The gauze covers her slender thighs, and the white skin underneath is looming. She has a cold and beautiful appearance, her hair is tied up high, and there is a spiritual sword floating behind her, as if she is a female sword fairy. The most important thing is that she exudes Taoist charm, which makes her look even more beautiful. Lu Chen has no resistance to such a fairy. However, Lu Chen had no intention of letting Mu Qinglan sleep with him right away. Knowing that Mu Qinglan had a crush on him, Lu Chen was a little reluctant to do anything. If he hadn't read Mu Qinglan's information and just saw that Mu Qinglan had a rating of 99, maybe Lu Chen would have to work overtime tonight. Lu Chen felt that he also had the burden of being an idol. For some reason, he didn't want to show his evil side in front of Mu Qinglan. Deep down in his heart, he seemed a little afraid that Mu Qinglan would be disappointed in him. Mu Qinglan felt a little nervous when Lu Chen looked at her with naked eyes. She tried her best to remain calm on the surface and not let Lu Chen see her inner restlessness. She was also worried that if she acted too obviously and was noticed by the Emperor of Heaven, the Emperor would reject her. End of chapter. Chapter 880 Lan and number 039, they are all my Taoist companions. After taking a look at Mu Qinglan, Lu Chen asked, I asked the Fire Emperor to send more spirit stones. How many spirit stones did he give you? Hearing this question, Mu Qinglan was stunned for a moment, and hurriedly said, I heard that His Majesty the Emperor of Heaven was in the Chaos Star Sea, so I came here immediately. The spirit stones His Majesty the Emperor of Heaven should still be behind. Speaking of this, Mu Qinglan suddenly thought of something, and hurriedly took out a space ring and said, I don't know how many spirit stones His Majesty the Emperor of Heaven needs. I have a lot of spirit stones for His Majesty the Emperor of Heaven to use first. Lu Chen said, you don't have to call yourself a slave in front of me in the future. You are a saint after all. People who are stronger than themselves call themselves slaves in formal occasions, which makes Lu Chen feel weird. Of course, if Mu Qinglan called him master on the couch, he would not feel weird in his heart. Not only would he not feel weird, but he would be more excited because Mu Qinglan is stronger than himself. Mu Qinglan was stunned for a moment, and quickly said, I am your Majesty's maid, I. Before Mu Qinglan finished speaking, Lu Chen interrupted and said, well, I order you not to call yourself a maid in the future. As my maid, you should know that you must obey my orders. I understand. Mu Qinglan finally stopped calling herself slave. After hearing Mu Qinglan's answer, Lu Chen took the space ring from Mu Qinglan with satisfaction, and then checked the spirit stones in the space ring. Mu Qinglan is indeed a saint. The cultivation resources in the space ring made Lu Chen's eyes light up. He didn't hesitate and took Mu Qinglan's space ring and flew towards the Qunren world. After seeing Lu Chen leave, Mu Qinglan hurriedly followed him. In a blink of an eye, Lu Chen came to the place he had chosen in the Qunren world a few days ago that was suitable for teleportation array. At this time, Mu Qinglan noticed that there was a woman wearing black and gold armor beside Lu Chen. Seeing this woman, Mu Qinglan's eyebrows slightly frowned, and a trace of displeasure arose in her heart. However, she did not say much. She clearly felt Lu Chen's breath from this woman, and she vaguely saw that there was a causal line between this woman and the Emperor of Heaven. Mu Qinglan felt a little puzzled. The Emperor of Heaven only knew how to practice in his previous life and had no interest in women. Why is he with a woman now? The key is that this woman still has his breath, and this breath is very strong. If you say that there is no sex between them, Mu Qinglan will definitely not believe it. When she thought that the Emperor of Heaven and this woman had sex, Mu Qinglan felt even more uncomfortable, and she quickly stopped herself from thinking about it. It is not normal for a big man like the Emperor of Heaven to have maids serving him. She can't think about it for this reason. Not to mention a woman, it would not be strange even if the Emperor of Heaven had 3,000 concubines. After comforting herself in her heart, Mu Qinglan felt much better. At this moment, two streams of light appeared in the distance. Mu Qinglan raised her eyebrows and quickly blocked in front of Lu Chen, asking with a vigilant face, who is it? As soon as the voice fell, two more graceful figures appeared in front of them. Nangang Yuehua saw the woman blocking Lu Chen and was slightly stunned. Feeling the powerful pressure emanating from the woman, Nangang Yuehua felt extremely shocked. Obviously, this woman is a real saint, and her aura is more powerful than Lu Chen. There is actually a saint beside Lu Chen? Nangang Qinja saw the relationship between Mu Qinglan and Lu Chen at a glance. Although she didn't know the woman in front of her and didn't understand her, she knew Lu Chen. Nangang Qinja said to Lu Chen, "Your Majesty, who is this senior? Why haven't I seen him before?" After hearing Nangang Qinja's words, Mu Qinglan realized that these two women were the maids of the Emperor of Heaven. There are already 3 maids around the Emperor of Heaven? And they all have the breath of the Emperor of Heaven, and the causal line between them and the Emperor of Heaven is very thick, which makes Mu Qinglan feel deeply in danger. There are so many maids around the Emperor of Heaven, so her position in front of the Emperor of Heaven in the future may be. As soon as this thought came up, Mu Qinglan quickly stopped herself from thinking about it. She just needed to do her own thing. The Emperor of Heaven's affairs were not something she, a maid, should speculate. Lu Chen smiled and said to Nangang Qinja and Nangang Yuehua, "Let me introduce you, she is my protector, Mu Qinglan." Hearing Lu Chen's words, Mu Qinglan was stunned. The Emperor of Heaven actually said that she was his protector. For a moment, Mu Qinglan didn't know if she was overwhelmed by joy. Although there was no expression on her face, her whole mind was blank. But soon Mu Qinglan reacted. She noticed Lu Chen's self-proclaimed name. Lu Chen did not call himself I or this emperor, but I. As the Emperor of Heaven, the only way he could call himself mine was in front of the closest people. These women. Sure enough. Just when Mu Qinglan was thinking about it, Lu Chen said to her again, "Lanner, they are all my Taoist companions." Hearing Lu Chen call her Lanner, Mu Qinglan's brain was stunned again. But she quickly came back to her senses, and the depression just now was swept away, and she suddenly had an idea. Since the Emperor of Heaven in this life has found so many Taoist companions, it seems that it is not impossible to have another Taoist companion? Thinking about it this way, she actually had great hopes. If it was the Emperor of Heaven in her previous life who only cared about cultivation and had no interest in women, then she would have no hope at all. After Lu Chen's introduction, Nangang Yuehua and Nangang Qinja basically confirmed their thoughts. Obviously, this Mu Qinglan is also Lu Chen's woman. Then the two women said to Mu Qinglan in unison, "I've met Senior. I've met Sister Mu." The names of the two women were not the same. Even though she had guessed that Mu Qinglan might be Lu Chen's woman, Nangang Yuehua still called her Senior. After all, Mu Qinglan is suspected of being a saint. But Nangang Qinja doesn't care about this. Even if Mu Qinglan is a saint, there is no difference between them in front of Lu Chen, and maybe one day they will serve Lu Chen together. Mu Qinglan glanced at the two women and did not correct any of their names. She just said with an indifferent face, "You two are welcome." Seeing Mu Qinglan's indifferent expression, Nangang Qinja and Nangang Yuehua suddenly had a strange idea in their hearts. For some reason, they both couldn't stand a woman maintaining a dignified and cold look in front of Lu Chen. Perhaps it was because their original aloof temperaments were destroyed by Lu Chen. At this time, both women were thinking that one day they would see this woman become like them in front of Lu Chen. After Nangang Yuehua came back to her senses, she took the initiative to ask, "What is your purpose for coming to Qinren world this time?" Lu Chen came here just a few days ago. The last time he came, Lu Chen didn't criticize the two sisters. He just chose this piece of land and went back. End of chapter. Chapter 881 shocked Mu Qinglan. Nangang Yuehua was somewhat curious about why Lu Chen chose this valley in front of him. As Nangang Yuehua finished speaking, Lu Chen poured out the spirit stone from Mu Qinglan's space ring and said, "I plan to set up a saint-level teleportation array here. If Qinren world finds that there are foreign enemies invading the Chaos Star Sea in the future, I can rush there in the first time in Tianchen world. Hearing Lu Chen's words, Nangang Yuehua and Nangang Qinja were slightly stunned. Saint-level teleportation array? To be able to be related to the saint level, the teleportation ability and distance of this teleportation array must be terrifying. At this time, Lu Chen said to Mu Qinglan, Lanner, there should be many teleportation arrays in the Skyfire dynasty, right? Mu Qinglan said, yes, but our teleportation arrays are all Xian level, and cannot be used to teleport between worlds, but only within the world. Mu Qinglan was not at all surprised that Lu Chen could create a saint-level teleportation array. After all, Lu Chen was the Emperor of Heaven. He was so powerful in his previous life. Not to mention the saint-level teleportation array, he could even use the Emperor-level skills. What was a saint-level teleportation array? Mu Qinglan asked, Your Majesty, I dare to ask, how far is the teleportation distance of this saint-level teleportation array? Lu Chen replied indifferently, the entire universe, as long as there is a teleportation array, it can be teleported. When these words came out, the three women were stunned. Although they knew that the teleportation distance of the saint-level teleportation array might be very far, after all, it was related to the saint level, so it could not be an ordinary teleportation array. But they did not expect that the saint-level teleportation array could ignore the distance of the entire universe. This teleportation distance was too terrifying. If such a teleportation array is built in all worlds in the future, wouldn't it be possible to go anywhere instantly? You know, even the Emperor can't travel instantly in the entire universe. Lu Chen didn't say anything else and began to set up the teleportation array. The spirit stones in Mu Qinglan's space ring are enough to set up 2 holy-level teleportation arrays. He only needs to set up one in Qinren world and then one in Tianchen world. In the future, the 2 worlds will be connected together. As the spirit stones in Lu Chen's hand continued to fly out, a huge array pattern quickly formed under Lu Chen's feet, and then the spirit stones piled up to form a teleportation gate. After arranging the teleportation array, Lu Chen turned his head to look at Mu Qinglan and said, Lanner, wait in Qinren world first. After I set up the teleportation array in Tianchen world, you can go directly to Tianchen world through the teleportation array. Lu Chen was worried that after they left, Kanghai sect would send people again. At present, he didn't know the situation of Kanghai sect. Kanghai sect might send people at any time, so it was better to be careful. Mu Qinglan said calmly, yes, His Majesty the Emperor. As soon as Mu Qinglan finished speaking, Lu Chen's body disappeared. The next moment, he returned to the Fiheng Xianzhou, and then controlled the Fiheng Xianzhou to return to the Tianchen world. After Lu Chen left, Mu Qinglan's eyes swept over Nangang Yuehua and Nangang Qinja. It must be said that these 2 women are indeed stunning. But then again, after the Emperor of Heaven completely recovers his memories of his previous life, will he still care about his Taoist partner? Thinking of this, Mu Qinglan said to Nangang Yuehua and Nangang Qinja expressionlessly, it's not easy to be the Taoist partner of the Emperor of Heaven. If you want to stand by the Emperor of Heaven all the time, you must have a certain strength. Hearing this, Nangang Qinja said with a smile, Sister Mu is right, we must work hard to practice. At this time, Mu Qinglan suddenly thought that since these 2 women were the Taoist partners of the Emperor of Heaven, they must know a lot of things about the Emperor of Heaven after his reincarnation, and she was curious about what the Emperor of Heaven experienced after his reincarnation. Then Mu Qinglan asked, when did you 2 follow the Emperor? Hearing this question, the 2 women were stunned for a moment. They thought that Mu Qinglan was Lu Chen's protector, so she should have been by Lu Chen's side for a long time. Since she had been by Lu Chen's side for a long time, it is not possible that she didn't know about this matter, right? Nangang Yuehua was the first to come to her senses. She guessed that Mu Qinglan must have just come to the Chaos Star Sea, so she didn't know about Lu Chen. Reply to the senior, we sisters have been following His Majesty the Emperor for less than 50 years. For mortals, 50 years is a long time, but for cultivators, 50 years is just a blink of an eye. Hearing that the two women had only followed Lu Chen for less than 50 years, Mu Qinglan felt a little proud. She had followed the emperor to the Huangshan Star region for more than 100 years. Mu Qinglan continued to ask, by the way, besides you, does His Majesty have other Taoist companions? Nangang Qinja replied, Sister Mu, we don't know this either. Mu Qinglan asked puzzledly, aren't you always with His Majesty, why don't you know this? Nangang Qinja replied, His Majesty has a lot of confidants, and new confidants appear by his side from time to time, so we can't be sure how many Taoist companions His Majesty has. A lot of confidants? Mu Qinglan was slightly stunned. She couldn't believe her ears. The Emperor of Heaven in the previous life was pure and had no interest in women. In this life, the Emperor of Heaven actually had many confidants? Mu Qinglan asked curiously, how many have you seen? Nangang Qinja said, there are no less than 30 that we know of. Mu Qinglan was completely stunned. 30? How did His Majesty the Emperor of Heaven fall into this state in this life? With so many Taoist companions, how can he still practice? There is a limit to dual cultivation. If it exceeds a certain limit, dual cultivation will not work. Too many Taoist companions will hinder cultivation. Mu Qinglan showed a worried look on her face. This should be because the Emperor of Heaven did not recover his memory, which caused the environment in this life to affect his growth, so he fell into this state. No. She absolutely cannot see the Emperor of Heaven continue to fall into this state. If the Emperor of Heaven has fallen into this state, when will he be able to recover his strength and memory? Seeing Mu Qinglan's dull expression, Nangang Yuehua and Nangang Qinja couldn't help thinking that if this woman saw the scene of Lu Chen and his wives and concubines not staying for several months, she would probably be even more shocked. On the way back to the Tianchen world, Lu Chen kept sneezing, and always felt that someone was sniffing him from behind. Lu Chen sat cross-legged in the hall, talking to himself. Could it be those guys from Kanghai sect who are talking about me behind my back? I don't know how strong Kanghai sect is. If it is not as good as Tianhuo Dynasty, then let Tianhuo Dynasty destroy Kanghai sect directly to prevent the news of Tianchen world from leaking out. After the voice fell, Lu Chen closed his eyes and didn't think about it anymore. He would wait until he built the teleportation array in Tianchen world and practice while there was still some time before returning to Tianchen world. After Lu Chen entered the state of practice, the figure of Tianhong Empress gradually appeared in the hall. End of this chapter. Chapter 882 The Angry Queen of Rainbow. Seeing Lu Chen entering the state of cultivation, Empress Tianhong thought to herself that this guy has been a lot more diligent recently and only knows that he is practicing. In the past, this guy only knew how to arrange flowers and jade, and did not do anything serious. But then again, judging from what this guy has done recently, it can be basically confirmed that he was a great emperor in his previous life. After all, he even had maids in the Saint realm. I don't know when this person will be able to return to the realm of the Great Emperor. Once he recovers the cultivation of the Great Emperor, it is not impossible for her to be resurrected. Just when Empress Tianhong looked at Lu Chen distracted, the last scene appeared again in the hall. In an instant, the entire hall turned into a sea of flowers. In the sea of flowers, Empress Tianhong once again saw the man and woman she saw last time. Just like last time, the man and woman were doing that kind of thing unscrupulously in the sea of flowers. The Rainbow Empress frowned slightly. What on earth is this? Illusion or realm? Her soul power has recovered a lot, but she still can't see how this scene came to be. Lu Chen's body didn't move at all, and this world shouldn't be any other world, nor was it an illusion. Is it a field? But why do other people appear in Lu Chen's field? The Rainbow Empress flew towards the dog couple again. She wanted to see what the dog man and woman were. Different from last time, this time Empress Tianhong quickly came to the front of the couple, and the woman's wailing sound also reached Empress Tianhong's ears. Seeing the doggy couple right in front of her, Empress Tianhong immediately became vigilant. This scene was really weird. But at this moment, a woman's voice suddenly came into Empress Tianhong's mind, "You are about to be resurrected." Hearing this voice, Empress Tianhong was startled. It was this voice that told her that the owner of the Fiheng immortal boat could resurrect her, and it was most likely the owner of this voice who bound her soul to the Fiheng immortal boat. Empress Tianhong immediately asked, "Who are you?" The woman's voice did not sound again, and Empress Tianhong's eyes fell on the doggy couple again. For some reason, she felt that the woman's voice seemed a bit like the woman's wailing in the flowers. Could it be that the woman lying among the flowers is? Before Empress Tianhong could think about it, the couple gradually stood up, raised their heads and turned to look at Empress Tianhong. When the woman turned her head, Empress Tianhong was stunned again. The woman's appearance was exactly the same as hers. What the hell is going on? What shocked Empress Tianhong was not just the appearance of that woman. The man's appearance was also difficult for Empress Tianhong to understand. The man looked exactly like Lu Chen. After she came back to her senses, Empress Tianhong was a little angry. No matter it was an illusion or something, this pair of bitches actually transformed into her appearance and did such dirty things. They were tainting her. Empress Tianhong snorted coldly, and then released the power of her soul, as if to attack this couple. However, at this moment, the woman who looked exactly like her suddenly said, "I am you." Empress Tianhong snorted coldly, "Shut up. She is also an empress after all. How could she do that kind of thing with that beast Lu Chen?" The next moment, Empress Tianhong slapped her palm. However, when the power of her soul was released, it was like a stone falling into the sea, without causing any impact. Any big wave. It was as if the power of her soul had dissipated. Empress Tianhong did not give up. She used her soul power again and prepared to take action again, but at this moment, the woman said again, "This is your fate." Empress Tianhong was even more angry. She finally understood that this woman brought her to the Fiheng ferry boat to wait for Lu Chen's reincarnation just because she wanted to become Lu Chen's cauldron. Waves of soul power reverberated in the sea of flowers, and the flowers in the sea of flowers were blown all over the sky. Just when Empress Tianhong was about to take action again, the sea of flowers disappeared in an instant, and the scene in front of her returned to the main hall again. At this time, Lu Chen also noticed something was wrong. He immediately opened his eyes. When he opened his eyes, he found a woman in red looking at him with a fierce look. The woman's body exudes a strong red soul power, and her red skirt is constantly flying due to the soul power. After Lu Chen saw the face of the woman in red clearly, he tentatively asked, "Hong Hong." Lu Chen was a little confused. What happened to the weapon spirit of Fiheng immortal boat? Why did it look like it went berserk? Can the weapon spirit also get angry? Is it possible that this weapon spirit has autonomous consciousness and already possesses human intelligence? Wait, even if she possesses human intelligence, there should be no reason to go berserk, right? Didn't you offend her? Hearing Lu Chen's voice, Empress Tianhong suddenly woke up. The violent soul power in her body instantly dissipated, and her face returned to its previous indifference. The next moment, her figure disappeared. Looking at the empty hall, Lu Chen didn't react for a long time. After waiting for a long time, Lu Chen asked the system, "The weapon spirit of Fiheng immortal boat should be intelligent, right?" The system replied, "Weapon spirits naturally have intelligence, but the intelligence of weapon spirits is also divided into levels. The higher the equipment spirit, the higher the intelligence." After hearing the system's answer, Lu Chen was more convinced that the spirit of the Fiheng Xianzhou already possessed human wisdom. Then Lu Chen came to the control array of the Fiheng Xianzhou. At this time, the Tianhong Empress was floating in the middle of the array, looking at the distant void expressionlessly. After Lu Chen walked in front of the Tianhong Empress, he continued to ask tentatively, "Hong Hong, I know you can understand me." The Tianhong Empress ignored Lu Chen and continued to float in the air. There was no expression on her face, as if she was a projection. Lu Chen asked, "Did I offend you in some way?" The Tianhong Empress still did not respond. Seeing that the Tianhong Empress still pretended to have no intelligence, Lu Chen became more curious about her. At this time, Lu Chen asked the system, "Can't the King Mu Chong Sheng function create a physical body for the spirit?" The King Mu Chong Sheng Gong is an advanced technique of the rejuvenation hand. Its main function is to revive the dead, but its principle is that as long as the soul is still there, it can create a physical body to help the soul and the body merge. The spirit of the weapon is also a spirit. Lu Chen wanted to know what would happen if he created a body for the spirit. The system replied, "Yes." Hearing the affirmative answer from the system, Lu Chen immediately made up his mind. At this moment, the system prompted, "To shape the body, you need the branches of the dragon and phoenix tree as the root bone." Hearing this prompt from the system, Lu Chen did not care too much. Today, the dragon and phoenix tree has already become a towering tree, and it is no problem to cut some branches. Lu Chen smiled and said to the Queen of Tianhong, "Hong Hong, do you want a body? I can create a body for you so that you can live like a human." End of this chapter. Chapter 883, First Use of the Saint-Level Teleportation Array. After hearing Lu Chen's words, Empress Tianhong's originally indifferent expression showed a slight change, and there seemed to be a hint of astonishment in her expression. Lu Chen kept staring at Empress Tianhong's face and naturally saw the change in Empress Tianhong's expression. Lu Chen laughed in his heart. It was just as he thought. The intelligence of Fiheng Immortal Boat's weapon spirit was almost the same as that of human beings. She has been hiding. I don't know why she wants to hide it. Is she so scary? At this time, Empress Tianhong couldn't believe what Lu Chen said. This man actually said that he wanted to create a physical body for her? If she had a physical body, wouldn't she be resurrected from the dead? He is not even a saint, does he really have such ability? Empress Tianhong was very suspicious. Is this guy deceiving himself? Thinking of this possibility, Empress Tianhong still pretended not to understand what Lu Chen was talking about. Seeing that Empress Tianhong still didn't respond, Lu Chen felt speechless. The expression on her face had changed just now, but now she was pretending not to understand. I really didn't know what this weapon spirit was thinking. She couldn't think of him as a fool. He was her master after all, yet she was so wary of him. Forget it, wait until she returns to Tianchen world to create a physical body for her. Then we will see how she pretends to be. Thinking of this, Lu Chen turned around and returned to the main hall to continue practicing. After seeing Lu Chen leave, Empress Tianhong frowned. She still couldn't believe what Lu Chen said, but she thought of the woman's voice from before. The woman said that she was about to be resurrected. If what she said was true, did that mean that Lu Chen really had the ability to resurrect her? But Lu Chen now only has the cultivation level of Gigzu realm. Even though Lu Chen may have been the great emperor in his previous life, it is impossible for him to display the strength of the great emperor before his cultivation level is restored. Without the power of the great emperor, how can one be resurrected? Forget it, she didn't have to think too much. After a while, she would know whether Lu Chenju had such ability. If he is really resurrected. Thinking of this, Empress Tianhong frowned again, and the expression on her face became extremely serious. If she is truly resurrected, what should she do next? Should you leave Lu Chen and go your own way? Or should I continue to stay with this man and continue to pretend to be a weapon? If Lu Chen really resurrected her, then she would definitely be contaminated by the great karma. It might not be that easy to leave Lu Chen just like that. Empress Tianhong finally decided to take it one step at a time. After all, whether Lu Chen could resurrect her was still unknown. There was no need to think too far. If Lu Chen didn't have the ability to resurrect her by then, it would be useless no matter how much she thought about it. A few months later, Lu Chen finally returned to Tianchen world. This time, he did not go to find his confidant immediately after returning to Tianchen world. Instead, he chose a piece of land and began to build a teleportation array. After Yun Xianxian sensed that Lu Chen was back, she did not go looking for his wives and concubines. Instead, she ran to an island. She was curious about what Lu Chen was going to do, so she went directly to the island where Lu Chen was. At this time, Lu Chen had already taken out a pile of spirit stones and was preparing to set up a formation, when Yun Xiangxian's voice suddenly came from behind. It's strange that the first thing you did when you came back was not to go to your wives and concubines for dual cultivation. If Lu Chen hadn't returned to Tianchen world for a while before, he would definitely go to his wives and concubines when he came back again, and accompany them all. Hearing Yun Xiangxian's voice, Lu Chen did not look back. He raised his hands, released the spiritual power on his body, and lifted all the piles of spiritual stones on the ground into the air. While building the formation, he said, "Don't worry, wait. After I set up the formation, I will definitely accompany you." Yun Xianxian came to Lu Chen's side and stared directly at the pile of top-grade spiritual stones. "Where did you get so many top-grade spiritual stones? The Chaos Star Sea is a wild star field, and it is impossible to have so many top-quality spiritual stones." Yun Xianxian seriously doubted whether Lu Chen had left the Chaos Star Sea and gone to other star fields. Lu Chen replied, "A friend from my previous life gave it to me." After hearing Lu Chen's answer, Yun Xianxian realized that this guy had such a noble status in his previous life, and this top-grade spiritual stone was nothing to him. But having said that, his friends from his previous life have already found him, so his enemies from his previous life may also know that he is in the Chaos Star Sea. Maybe it won't be long before his enemies from the past life come to visit him. Thinking of this, Yun Xianxian glanced at Lu Chen, who was carefully arranging the formation. At this time, Lu Chen was very quiet and his white clothes were fluttering, like a banished immortal descending from the earth. This traitor should be able to deal with the enemies in his previous life. Every time he encounters danger, he can always save the day. He probably has a lot of trump cards in his hand, so there is no need for her to worry too much. Thinking of this, Yun Xianxian didn't speak anymore, but stood quietly aside, watching Lu Chen arrange the formation. Lu Chen didn't say what kind of formation he had arranged just now. Yun Xianxian was a little curious about what kind of formation Lu Chen had arranged, and she asked him to go to the sea to arrange it. At this time, the spiritual stones in the air began to fall and formed a round platform on the ground in the distance. Then, the spiritual stones were piled up to form a huge door. After the teleportation array was completed, golden rays of light emitted, and the next moment, the luck of Tianchen world suddenly skyrocketed. As the luck in Tianchen world becomes violent, the power of the world's luck is also fed back to the cultivators. All the monks in Tianchen world feel that their cultivation level has improved faster, and there are many monks who have reached a bottleneck in their cultivation. This moment broke through. Lu Chen looked at the teleportation array in front of him in surprise. He did not expect that just creating a teleportation array would actually increase the luck of Tianchen world so much. After Yun Xianxian came to his senses, he asked directly, "What formation is this?" Lu Chen replied, "Saint-level teleportation array." Yun Xianxian was slightly stunned. The teleportation array was just a teleportation array. This was the first time she had heard of a holy teleportation array. Even though she had Yun Qingshu's memory, she had never heard of a holy teleportation array. At this time, Lu Chen turned to look at Yun Xianxian, and said with a smile, "In this universe, wherever there is a saint-level teleportation array, we can reach it in an instant. Yun Xianxian was stunned and looked at Lu Chen in disbelief. Are you not joking? Lu Chen said calmly, we will find out if we try it now. Having said this, Lu Chen walked directly to the door of the teleportation array. The next moment, a black vortex appeared in the middle of the door, as if it was trying to suck people in. Seeing that Lu Chen had walked to the portal, Yun Xianxian followed a few steps and walked to Lu Chen's side. Because it was the first time to use the teleportation array, Lu Chen was not 100% confident about the teleportation array, so he took the initiative to hold Yun Xianxian's hands. If there were any problems in the teleportation channel, they would not ask for separation. Subscribe to Chinese Novel Audio Wave. Chapter 884. Have you prepared a training room for Sister Qinglin? Being held tightly by Lu Chen, Yun Xianxian always felt a little strange in her heart. Although they had been husband and wife for countless times, this kind of hand-holding made Yun Xianxian feel like a little girl. However, Yun Xianxian did not shake off Lu Chen's hand. She opened her 5 fingers and then interlocked her fingers with Lu Chen. Then Lu Chen put his hand on the side of the portal. The next moment, a symbol appeared on the door frame of the portal. Then, a star map appeared in front of the portal, and there was a red dot on the star map. That dot happened to be the location of Qinren World. Lu Chen directly chose the red dot. Then, he held Yun Xianxian's jade hand and walked towards the portal. Entering the portal, the two of them went dark before their eyes, and then a teleportation channel appeared in front of them. There were countless tiny lights in the teleportation channel. Before Lu Chen had time to explore what those lights were, a bright light appeared in front of them. The dazzling light made Lu Chen and Yun Xianxian close their eyes slightly. When they opened their eyes again, they appeared in a valley. Not far from the valley, there was a woman in green sitting cross-legged on the ground practicing, and a spiritual sword was floating next to her. When she felt the spiritual power fluctuations in the portal, Mu Qinglin immediately opened her eyes. The moment she opened her eyes, Mu Qinglin was slightly stunned. Mu Qinglin quickly reacted. She quickly got up and came to Lu Chen, slave, pay homage to His Majesty the Emperor of Heaven. Yun Xianxian looked at the green-clothed woman in front of her and couldn't help but look at her. After feeling the pressure emanating from the green-clothed woman in front of her, Yun Xianxian instantly judged that she was a saint. This traitor's ability to flirt with women is really extraordinary. I didn't expect that he had just left for a short time and actually kidnapped a female slave of the saint realm. Yun Xianxian became more and more suspicious, whether even the existence of the Empress could not escape from Lu Chen's palm after being targeted by him. Seeing the two women's eyes sweeping back and forth between each other, Lu Chen coughed and said to Yun Xianxian, Master, this is my protector, Mu Qinglin. Hearing Lu Chen's introduction, Mu Qinglin was stunned. Master? Did she hear it right? This woman in white is so weak that she is not even a saint. What qualifications does she have to be the master of the Emperor of Heaven? Mu Qinglin obviously does not understand the role of Yun Xianxian as a master, so she feels that Yun Xianxian is not qualified to be Lu Chen's master. At this time, Lu Chen said to Mu Qinglin, Lanner, this is my master. Mu Qinglin stared at Yun Xianxian, and then said with an unhappy face, Hello, senior. Yun Xianxian saw the jealousy in Mu Qinglin's eyes at a glance. She just smiled slightly and said, You are Chener's protector. We should be equals. There is no need to be so polite. Mu Qinglin thought to herself that this woman had some vision, but she still felt a little uncomfortable. She suspected that this woman took advantage of the fact that the Emperor of Heaven had not recovered his memory and tricked the Emperor of Heaven into becoming her disciple. Just as the few people were talking, 2 streams of light appeared in the distance. The next moment, Nangang Yuehua and Nangang Qinja also appeared in front of the teleportation array. Seeing that it was Lu Chen and Yun Xianxian at the entrance of the teleportation array, the 2 women understood that Lu Chen's saint-level teleportation array was successfully arranged. When they thought that they could return to Tianchen world at any time through the teleportation array, and Lu Chen could also come to Qunren world at any time through the teleportation array to confront them, the two women felt that it seemed meaningless for them to come to Qunren world. They used to think that after coming to Qunren world, they could focus all their attention on cultivation, so that their cultivation could be improved faster, but Lu Chen made such a teleportation array. That's it, this is their fate, and the two women no longer continue to entangle the whole thing. At this moment, Lu Chen looked at Nangang Yuehua and Nangang Qinja and asked, Yuehua, Qinja, you can use this teleportation array when you want to return to Tianchen world in the future. The two women thought to themselves, why would they go back to Tianchen world for nothing? They came to Qunren world to practice quietly. If they used the teleportation array to go to Tianchen world every now and then, and did that kind of thing with Lu Chen every now and then, how could they still have the mind to practice? Although they thought so in their hearts, they still said in unison, yes, Your Majesty. Lu Chen then said to Mu Qinglan, Lanner, will you go back to Tianchen world with us next? Mu Qinglan said expressionlessly, yes, Your Majesty. Although her face looked very calm, Mu Qinglan was very active in her heart. She had learned almost everything about Tianchen world through the Nangang sisters. However, Mu Qinglan still felt it was incredible that Lu Chen had more than 30 confidants. She wanted to go to Tianchen world in person to see if Lu Chen really had so many Taoist companions. Too many Taoist companions would seriously affect the cultivation of the Emperor of Heaven and the speed at which he could recover his cultivation and memory. If what the Nangang sisters said was true, she must find a way to get the Emperor of Heaven to focus on cultivation. Lu Chen didn't know what Mu Qinglan was thinking at the moment, nor did he care what she thought. When Mu Qinglan walked in front of Lu Chen stretched out his other hand and said to Mu Qinglan, this is your first time using the portal. Just in case, you should hold my hand. This. Mu Qinglan was startled. She had never expected to have such close contact with the Emperor of Heaven, but she didn't expect that the Emperor of Heaven would actually take the initiative to extend his hand to her. For a moment, Mu Qinglan was extremely flustered. Although her expression was still cold, a hint of blush still appeared on her cold and beautiful cheeks. Yun Xianxian immediately noticed the change in Mu Qinglan's expression. She was basically completely sure of the relationship between Lu Chen and this so-called protector. Of course, she was no longer surprised by such things. Yun Xianxian didn't feel jealous at all. As this guy's woman, she had to keep a calm mind, otherwise she would be the only one who would feel jealous every day. Seeing that Mu Qinglan didn't extend her hand, Lu Chen asked, what's wrong? Mu Qinglan came back to her senses, no, nothing. Your Majesty, I'm sorry for the offense. After the voice fell, Mu Qinglan also extended her white jade-like hand, and Lu Chen grabbed Mu Qinglan's wrist. Feeling the temperature of her wrist, Mu Qinglan's heart became even more nervous. She quickly circulated the spiritual power in her body to calm herself down. The next moment, Lu Chen held the hands of the two women and walked directly towards the portal. Just like before, their time in the transmission channel was very short. With a ray of light, they arrived at the Tianchen world. After returning to the Tianchen world, Lu Chen did not let go of Mu Qinglan's hand immediately, which made Mu Qinglan's eyes look at Lu Chen's hand involuntarily. Yun Xianxian also noticed Mu Qinglan's sight, and she said to Lu Chen lightly, Chener, have you prepared a training room for Sister Qinglan? Hearing Yun Xiangxian's voice, Lu Chen reacted. He let go of Mu Qinglan's hand, and said to Mu Qinglan, Lanner, I will take you back to my palace first. Mu Qinglan came back to her senses at this time, and she felt a little lost. End of this chapter. Chapter 885. Does Lu Chen also have a protector? After Mu Qinglan came back to her senses, she was instantly shocked by the richness of the spiritual energy in the Tianchen world. In a remote and desolate star field like the Chaos Star Sea, there is actually a life world with such rich spiritual energy? The richness of the spiritual energy in this world has far exceeded that of the Tianhua world. Could it be that the spiritual power of the entire star field has gathered in this world, so this star field is so desolate? Mu Qinglan did not expect that the spiritual energy in the Tianchen world was so rich because of Lu Chen. After all, Lu Chen has not yet recovered his great emperor cultivation. Just when Mu Qinglan was distracted, Lu Chen used teleportation and brought Mu Qinglan to Black Dragon City. Today's Black Dragon City is very prosperous, and many modern things on Earth have been integrated into Black Dragon City. When Mu Qinglan came to Black Dragon City with Lu Chen, she was attracted by all kinds of new things in Black Dragon City. Many things were the first time she saw them, such as cars that can be driven without spiritual power, and various electrical appliances. Lu Chen did not take Mu Qinglan directly to the palace, but said to Mu Qinglan, "Lanner, do you want to visit Black Dragon City?" Hearing Lu Chen's words, Mu Qinglan's eyes were retracted from the distant streets. She really wanted to visit the place where the Emperor of Heaven lived, but Mu Qinglan still said, "I won't delay your Majesty's time." Lu Chen smiled and said, "It's okay, I'll let someone accompany you." Then Lu Chen sent a message to Xuan Yuan Yunkai. Not long after, a woman in black and gold armor appeared in front of them. Seeing this cold and beautiful woman in front of her, and the causal line connected to Lu Chen wrapped around her body, Mu Qinglan frowned slightly. Now Xuan Yuan Yunkai is responsible for the order of the entire Black Dragon City. She happened to patrol nearby just now, so Lu Chen planned to let her take Mu Qinglan around. After Xuan Yuan Yunkai came to Lu Chen, she looked at Mu Qinglan and felt the taurime and pressure emanating from Mu Qinglan. Xuan Yuan Yunkai was extremely shocked. Such a strong taurime? This should be a saint, right? When did their majesty have a saint around him? After a moment of distraction, Xuan Yuan Yunkai quickly bowed to Lu Chen and said, "Greetings, your majesty." Lu Chen said, "No need to be polite, Yunkai, this is my protector, you take her around Black Dragon City." Xuan Yuan Yunkai said respectfully, "Yes, your majesty." After the voice fell, Xuan Yuan Yunkai looked at Mu Qinglan, "Senior, please follow me." After realizing that Xuan Yuan Yunkai and Lu Chen were Taoist companions, Mu Qinglan quickly said, "No need to be so polite, my name is Mu Qinglan, you can just call me sister." Mu Qinglan has already begun to pave the way for her future identity change. Xuan Yuan Yunkai is Lu Chen's Taoist companion, how can she let Xuan Yuan Yunkai call her senior, then she will be older than Lu Chen. After hearing Mu Qinglan's words, Xuan Yuan Yunkai instantly understood what she meant. She has been with Lu Chen for so many years, how could she not hear what the relationship between Mu Qinglan and Lu Chen is? What kind of protector? The Heavenly Emperor is the protector of this Mu Qinglan, but it is hard to say what kind of protector he is. Xuan Yuan Yunkai did not say anything polite, she said directly, "Okay, Sister Mu, come with me." "Okay." Then Mu Qinglan went shopping with Xuan Yuan Yunkai. After Mu Qinglan left, Lu Chen took Yun Xianxian back to the palace. When the two returned to the palace, Chen Wanrong and others were gathering together to discuss the problems encountered in cultivation. After seeing Lu Chen and Yun Xianxian suddenly appear, everyone in the yard immediately bowed to Lu Chen and said, "Greetings to the Heavenly Emperor." Lu Chen smiled and said, "Ladies, there is no need to be polite." Lu Chen has told them many times that they don't need to be so polite, but they may have developed a habit. Every time they see Lu Chen, especially when there are many people, they will still bow to Lu Chen. Of course, they don't care so much about these privately. Lu Chen's eyes fell on Wu Yunwan. After taking a look at the elegant Wu Yunwan, he smiled and said, "Yunwan, I found a protector. Please help me arrange a bedroom for her." Now Wu Yunwan is in charge of the affairs of the Black Dragon City Palace. She knows the most about the bedroom, so Lu Chen asked her to arrange it. After hearing Lu Chen's words, the women were confused. Protector? Lu Chen also has a protector? No, from what he said, he was the one who found the protector. The strength of the protector is generally stronger than the person being protected. Lu Chen is already so strong, so Lu Chen's protector is even stronger? Just when the women were thinking about the strength of Lu Chen's protector, Yun Xianxian added at this time. It's a woman, and she's very beautiful. As soon as this was said, the women instantly understood what was going on. Obviously, Lu Chen's protector was probably not just a protector. It was estimated that he would protect the bed while protecting. Seeing that the girls were all looking at him, Lu Chen coughed and said, "What are you looking at? Did anything happen between her and me?" The girls thought that just because it didn't happen now didn't mean it wouldn't happen in the future. As long as they entered the palace, it would happen sooner or later. They had followed Lu Chen for so many years, and they didn't know what kind of person Lu Chen was. But the girls didn't say much. It was just another sister, and it wouldn't affect them at all. Lu Chen always pays attention to equal treatment, and now their minds are all on cultivation, so they are not so eager for dual cultivation. It's enough to come once in a while. Wu Junwan turned around and said, "I'll arrange it for her right away." As soon as the voice fell, Wu Junwan left the yard and arranged a palace for Mu Qinglan. The palace of Black Dragon City is very large, and there are enough palaces. Not to mention one more woman, even if Lu Chen finds hundreds of them, it will be enough for them to live in. Of course, since the other party is Lu Chen's protector, she also has a certain status, so her place should naturally be better. After Wu Junwan left, Lu Chen's eyes swept over the other women. He hadn't been back for a long time. Seeing his naked eyes, the women instantly guessed what Lu Chen was thinking. But Lu Chen did not pounce on him. At this time, he came to the stone table in the pavilion and sat down. "My protector is a saint. If you have any questions about cultivation in the future, you can ask her." Hearing this, the women were startled. Although they had just guessed that Lu Chen's protector must be much stronger than Lu Chen, they did not expect that his protector was actually a saint. It is worthy of Lu Chen. Even saints cannot escape from his palm. At the same time, Mu Qinglan has been dazzled by the many new things in Black Dragon City. With the help of immortal cultivators, Tianchen world has long entered the industrial age. Now Black Dragon City is full of industrial products. End of this chapter. Chapter 886. She must find a way to wake up the Emperor. The combination of cultivation and technology makes the Tianchen world even better. If it were in another cultivation world, most cultivators would be able to do many things that ordinary people could not do as long as they had cultivation. In this way, people in that world would have no motivation to develop technology, and their minds would be on cultivation. The lack of ambition in the cultivation world in terms of technological innovation has led to an extremely low level of productivity, so that mortals have a very hard life. The same is true for the Tianhuo dynasty. The essence of the Tianhuo dynasty is the exploitation and oppression of foreign mortals by the Tianhuo clan. The Tianchen world is about both cultivation and technology, which makes the lives of ordinary people very beautiful. After seeing this different world in front of her, Mu Qinglan admired Lu Chen even more in her heart. The Emperor of Heaven is worthy of being the Emperor of Heaven. He can actually create such a beautiful world. No wonder the fortune of the Tianchen world is so strong. Accompanied by Xian Yuan Yunkai, Mu Qinglan walked around several streets and bought a lot of industrial products. Xian Yuan Yunkai reminded her that these things were produced by royal enterprises, and she didn't need to buy them if she wanted them, but Mu Qinglan still bought a lot. Black Dragon City was too big, and it was dark before Mu Qinglan finished her tour. Mu Qinglan thought that she would be the protector of the Emperor of Heaven in the future, and there was plenty of time to visit Black Dragon City, so there was no need to rush, so she asked Xian Yuan Yunkai to take her to the palace. As soon as Mu Qinglan entered the palace, she saw several stunning women, all of whom had causal lines connected to Lu Chen. Seeing this scene, Mu Qinglan frowned slightly, and now she completely believed what the Nangong sisters said. The Emperor of Heaven in this life was indeed too decadent, and he actually had so many Taoist companions. With so many energy-sucking demon women around the Emperor of Heaven, would the Emperor of Heaven still have the mind to practice? If he didn't focus on practicing, when would the Emperor of Heaven be able to recover his cultivation and strength? No, the Emperor of Heaven could not continue to degenerate like this. She had to think of a way to make the Emperor of Heaven focus on practicing. Wu Yunhuan came to Mu Qinglan. She saluted with a friendly face and said, "Hello, Senior, my name is Wu Yunhuan, I am the Taoist partner of His Majesty, I have prepared a bedroom for you, please follow me." Mu Qinglan came to her senses and immediately said, "Don't be so polite, from now on you can call me sister." Although Mu Qinglan was a little uncomfortable with these witch women, they were all Taoist partners of the Emperor of Heaven after all, and she couldn't openly quarrel with them. The relationship that should be established should still be established. Seeing that Mu Qinglan asked them to call her sister, the women understood, and now they also confirmed what the relationship between Mu Qinglan and Lu Chen was. A protector of the Tao, it is indeed a protector of the Tao, but to be precise, Lu Chen is her protector of the Tao, and she is the one being protected. They all know what Tao they are protecting. Wu Yunhuan said, "Okay, then Sister Mu, come with me." After she finished speaking, Wu Yunhuan took Mu Qinglan to the palace she arranged for her. Mu Qinglan's palace was very close to Yun Xiangxian's palace, almost next to each other. When Mu Qinglan just passed outside Yun Xiangxian's palace, she faintly heard some faint howling sounds. After noticing something unusual, she stopped and did not continue to follow Wu Yunhuan to the front. Mu Qinglan asked, "Did you hear any sounds?" Wu Yunhuan also stopped and turned to look at Mu Qinglan, who was listening carefully to the sounds coming from the palace next to her. Wu Yunhuan was no longer surprised by this. Lu Chen was able to wait until dark before taking action, which was considered an improvement. If it was before, Lu Chen would probably just pull a concubine into the room to practice dual cultivation when he came back during the day. Wu Yunhuan said, "Sister Mu, there are often such sounds in the palace, you don't have to care too much." Is there such a sound often? Mu Qinglan was a little confused. This was obviously the sound of a woman wailing. How could such a sound be often heard? What was going on? Could it be that there was something shameful in the palace? Mu Qinglan then quietly released her spiritual power to explore the situation of the entire palace, but the next second her brain was stunned. After noticing what happened in Yun Xiangxian's bedroom, Mu Qinglan understood why Wu Yunhuan said that this busy sound often occurred. Mu Qinglan felt her face slightly hot, and she hurriedly said to Wu Yunhuan, "Let's go." Wu Yunhuan saw that Mu Qinglan was suddenly so anxious, and she also knew that Mu Qinglan must have peeped at what Lu Chen was doing, but she did not point it out. Sooner or later, Mu Qinglan would experience the same thing. Then, Wu Yunhuan took Mu Qinglan to the next bedroom of Yun Xianxian. Because Mu Qinglan was a saint, her perception was far beyond that of ordinary cultivators. Even if she went to her own bedroom next door, she could hear Yun Xiangxian's voice. Mu Qinglan's expression became extremely cold, and there was a hint of coldness in her eyes. No wonder that woman could become the master of the Emperor of Heaven. It turned out that she used such a shameful method. Mu Qinglan now only felt that Yun Xianxian used her body to fascinate Lu Chen. She actually had no real skills and probably didn't teach the Emperor of Heaven anything. The master-disciple relationship between them was not a pure master-disciple relationship. This witch. She must find a way to make the Emperor of Heaven wake up and see through the true face of these women. Wu Yunhuan saw that Mu Qinglan looked unhappy, so she immediately said, "Sister Mu, if you need anything, you can tell the maids in your bedroom at any time, or come to me directly." Mu Qinglan said expressionlessly, "Okay, I know, Sister Yunwan, go and do your own thing first. Wu Yunwan didn't say anything more, and turned around and left Mu Qinglan's bedroom. After Wu Yunwan left, Mu Qinglan's face became even colder, and the sword energy on her body became somewhat uncontrollable and violent. After a while, she controlled her anger. She knew that this matter could not be rushed. After all, the Emperor of Heaven had not yet recovered his memories of his previous life. If she interfered too much in the Emperor of Heaven's affairs, it might cause the Emperor of Heaven's displeasure. She wanted the Emperor of Heaven to return his mind to cultivation. First of all, she could not offend the Taoist companions of the Emperor of Heaven. Not only could she not offend them, but she should have a good relationship with them, and then use them to guide the Emperor of Heaven back to the right path. At the same time, in the bedroom next door, Lu Chen was training his waist strength. At this time, Yun Xian, who was assisting Lu Chen in training, said, "Hey! You did it on purpose." Although the spiritual power released by Mu Qinglan was very weak, Yun Xian still noticed it, and for a saint, it was impossible for her not to sense it at such a close distance. I don't know if Lu Chen thought of the saint fairy next door and acted like a madman. Lu Chen didn't say anything. He quietly practiced the 100 phoenixes and continued to busy himself. End of this chapter. Chapter 887 Senior, this is the enlightenment tea for cultivation. Seeing that Lu Chen didn't say a word, he started to get angry. Yun Xian felt helpless. This guy is really... Forget it, who made her so unlucky to meet such a traitor? Just when Yun Xian was about to let Lu Chen go down, a strange feeling suddenly occurred in her body. Yun Xian was stunned. What was going on? She hadn't arrived yet, so how could she feel like this? The next moment, the feeling became stronger and stronger, directly submerging Yun Xiangxian's consciousness. After an unknown amount of time, she gradually recovered. Yun Xian, who turned around, immediately turned to look at Lu Chen, who was still furious. There was a trace of tears in her eyes, but she stared straight at Lu Chen, looking a little aggrieved. Seeing the cold fairy's aggrieved look made Lu Chen even more restless. Yun Xian said quickly, what on earth, is going on? What did you, do? Lu Chen smiled and said, I didn't do anything. Yun Xian snorted coldly. She didn't believe that Lu Chen didn't do anything. She didn't understand her body yet. She hadn't entered the state just now, so why did she suddenly? It was obvious that Lu Chen had used some method. This traitor has a unique way of dealing with women. Maybe he learned some evil ways from somewhere. Just when Yun Xian was about to say something, Lu Chen suddenly leaned down, put one hand around her belly, and then directly blocked her red lips. Ugh! Yun Xian once again experienced the feeling just now. This bastard! The anger in Yun Xiangxian's heart was swept away, and the next moment her mind went blank. As time passed by, Yun Xian soon understood what was going on. Every time her emotions were aroused, it was also this traitor. Thinking about it this way, this traitor used some special means to connect their two feelings together. When Lu Chen feels something, she will feel the same way. Yun Xian felt a little emotional when she thought that Lu Chen would use such a method to deal with her. She is not disgusted with the dual cultivation now. After all, Lu Chen is her man. But Lu Chen used this method to deal with her and turned her brain into paste, which made her a little unhappy. At this moment, Yun Xian was lying on the bed, staring straight at Lu Chen. Lu Chen had calmed down at this time, and just looked at Yun Xian condescendingly, while his claws were raking over her body. Yun Xian asked again, "Tell me, what method did you use this time?" Lu Chen gently fiddled with Yun Xiangxian's hair and said, "Is there a possibility that I didn't use any means and it was just master's own feelings?" Yun Xian snorted coldly, "You think I'm a fool?" Seeing that Yun Xianxian had seen through his little tricks, Lu Chen was too lazy to continue to quibble, and directly admitted, "It's just a dual cultivation method. When practicing this method, the feelings of both parties will be synchronized, which can better help practice." Yun Xianxian rolled her eyes at Lu Chen, and she knew that this guy had used small tricks. Immediately Yun Xianxian said, "You are not allowed to use this technique here in the future." Lu Chen asked, "Why?" Yun Xianxian said coldly, "It's not allowed." She didn't like not being able to control her body, especially at a time like this. Since she fully accepted Lu Chen, she would focus on her cultivation every time Lu Chen came to her for business. Although this guy used various tricks to deal with her, making it difficult for her to concentrate, but after a while, the body and mind will still calm down. Every time after she calmed down, she would let Lu Chen do whatever he wanted while practicing on his own, but it didn't work after Lu Chen used this evil technique. After the two of them shared their feelings, Lu Chen kept arousing her emotions, making her completely unable to calm down, let alone practice. Seeing Yung Xiangxian's cold and ruthless appearance, Lu Chen's heart became hot again. Because of Bei Feng Chao Huang Gong, Yung Xiangxian also clearly sensed Lu Chen's emotions. "This traitor!" Lu Chen lay down at this time and whispered in Yun Xiangxian's ear, "I have to do this, what can you do to me?" "You." Hearing Lu Chen's words, Yun Xianxian was even more annoyed, but there was nothing he could do about it. Lu Chen had long known that Yun Xianxian had not been thinking about that kind of thing most of the time in the past. After all, they were cultivators, and they would only have obvious feelings in those few days. After those few days, after they were a little more awake, I will focus on cultivation. But it's different with Bai Feng Chao Huang Gong. From now on, they won't be able to wake up even if they want to. At this time, Lu Chen began to continue busy with his own affairs. At the same time, Mu Qinglan, who was in the bedroom next door, stood at the window and looked in the direction of Yun Xiangxian's bedroom with an indifferent expression. The sound insulation effect of the palace is actually very good. If you are an ordinary person, you will naturally not be able to hear the sounds next door. However, Mu Qinglan is a saint. Saints have strong perception. She can clearly hear the sounds coming from next door, even small ones. She could hear the voices. Mu Qinglan didn't want to eavesdrop, but she couldn't help it. She wanted to know how the witch used her beauty to corrupt the Emperor of Heaven and make him unwilling to make progress. However, after taking a closer look, she found that things were different from what she thought. She found that the one who really took the initiative was the Emperor of Heaven, and his master couldn't escape even if he wanted to. Thinking of the Emperor of Heaven becoming like this, Mu Qinglan couldn't help but sigh deeply. It seemed that it was not an easy task to make the Emperor of Heaven return to normal and focus on cultivation. However, no matter how difficult it was, she had to find a way. Not to mention that the Emperor of Heaven had many enemies in his previous life, there was also a powerful enemy not far from the Emperor of Heaven in this life. The Lord of Huangshan domain was already a quasi-emperor, and he might be able to become an emperor in 5,000 years at most. If he discovered the existence of the Emperor of Heaven, he might directly attack the Emperor of Heaven. The Emperor of Heaven couldn't fall like this. Just as Mu Qinglan was thinking this, the voice of the demon girl begging for mercy came from the next door. "Disciple, Master knows his mistake. Don't do this. Rebellious disciple, you are a bastard." The sword energy on Mu Qinglan's body instantly raged in the hall. Fortunately, Mu Qinglan restrained herself, otherwise the entire bedroom might have been destroyed by her sword energy. A month passed in the blink of an eye. Yun Xianxian was completely paralyzed, and Mu Qinglan was also numb. She never thought that the Emperor of Heaven had fallen to such a level. Mu Qinglan was only anxious, and did not dare to do anything at this time. At this time, a maid entered Mu Qinglan's bedroom with a bag of tea leaves. "Senior, this is the enlightenment tea for cultivation. Concubine Wu said that if you need it, you can brew it and try it. Mu Qinglan came back to her senses from her anxiety, and she looked at the bag of tea in the maid's hand with disbelief. Enlightenment tea? Is it true? As a saint, she knew very well how precious enlightenment tea was, especially for the quasi-emperor who was about to break through to the great emperor. Some quasi-emperors were only 1 cup of enlightenment tea away from breaking through to the great emperor. End of this chapter. Chapter 888. When are you going to attack her? Mu Qinglan looked at the bag of tea in the maid's hand with some disbelief. Are you sure what you are holding is enlightenment tea? I realized how precious tea is. It would be nice to have a piece of tea. This maid actually had a bag in her hand. This was obviously not the real enlightenment tea, or the kind of enlightenment tea she knew. The maid replied, Senior, this is the enlightenment tea that the royal concubines have been drinking. It can speed up their cultivation. After hearing the maid's answer, Mu Qinglan basically confirmed in her heart that this was indeed not the kind of enlightenment tea she knew. It was probably just an ordinary spiritual tea that increased the speed of cultivation. But since this was sent by the Taoist companion of the Emperor of Heaven, no matter how bad the thing is, it has to be accepted. After all, this is what others want. Thinking of this, Mu Qinglan waved her hand, and the so-called enlightenment tea bag in the maid's hand flew into Mu Qinglan's hand. Mu Qinglan said to the maid calmly, Thank you, concubine Wu, on my behalf. The maid said respectfully, Yes, Senior, I will take my leave. After the words fell, the maid turned and left the room. Mu Qinglan looked at the enlightenment tea in her hand. She was a little curious about the effect of this spiritual tea. Then Mu Qinglan raised her hand, and the teacup and teapot on the table flew in front of her, suspended in the air. Then Mu Qinglan opened the bag in front of her. As soon as the bag was opened, the fragrance of spiritual tea penetrated into Mu Qinglan's nostrils. The next moment, the Taoist charm around her became thicker, and some Taoist texts appeared. The most important thing was that Mu Qinglan clearly felt my state of mind has actually become somewhat looser. Mu Qinglan was a little confused, what was going on? This spiritual tea can actually loosen her realm just by smelling the fragrance of tea? Is it possible? Is this really enlightenment tea? Mu Qinglan didn't think much, she directly grabbed a few leaves and put them into the teapot, and then waited for a while with anxiety. After the soaking time was almost up, Mu Qinglan immediately poured herself a cup of tea, and then took a sip. With just one mouthful, Mu Qinglan felt the power in her body rising crazily. The next moment, a majestic spiritual power spread out from her body, and the Tao Yun on her body also spread to the sky above Black Dragon City. When the monks in Black Dragon City witnessed the Taoist rime in the sky, their cultivation levels also broke through. This is the power of the saint. Just by observing the saint's Taoist rime, one can achieve breakthroughs in cultivation level. Mu Qinglan didn't come back to her senses for a long time. She withdrew her spiritual power, felt her physical condition, looked at the tea in front of her in shock and murmured, "This is really enlightenment tea." After a while, Mu Qinglan came back to her senses. She thought to herself that the tea should have been brought out by the Emperor of Heaven. To others, enlightenment tea may be precious, but to the Emperor of Heaven, this tea does not seem to be that strange. Thinking about it this way, this tea was not given to him by Wu Yunhuan, but because of the order of the Emperor of Heaven. Otherwise, how could Wu Yunhuan give such a precious thing to him? The Emperor of Heaven must have noticed that her cultivation had reached a bottleneck, so he asked Wu Yunhuan to send someone to give her enlightenment tea. Well, that must be the case. Thinking of this, Mu Qinglan respected Lu Chen even more. Then she moved the teapot and teacup to the table, then crossed her legs and began to meditate. She couldn't let down the Emperor of Heaven's kindness, so she had to take this opportunity to practice well. When Mu Qinglan entered the cultivation state, the sounds next door gradually became less audible. At the same time, Lu Chen and Yun Xianxian also stopped. The ice-cold fairy looked at the traitor with a resentful look on his face. He couldn't just be happy, he had to let himself feel it too. But this also made Yun Xianxian understand why this traitor is so fierce. The faster he is, the easier it is to get into the state. Yun Xianxian asked at this time, the saint next door has become stronger again. When do you plan to attack her? Lu Chen knelt down and gently arranged Yun Xianxian's white hair. Am I the kind of person who loves everyone I see in master's eyes? Yun Xianxian snorted coldly and did not respond to this. His wives and concubines all knew who this guy was. With Mu Qinglan's beauty, she would definitely not believe that Lu Chen only regarded her as a protector. It would not be long before Lu Chen would completely turn her into his woman. Yun Xianxian was silent for a moment and then said, "Can you please stop using that kind of technique in the future? That kind of technique is likely to affect my future practice." After hearing Yun Xianxian's words, Lu Chen's attention fell on future cultivation. He said with a smile, "Don't worry, it won't affect your cultivation, it's just a temporary pleasure." Yun Xianxian said coldly, "If you can't become a great emperor as a teacher, it will be your fault." Lu Chen burst out laughing, "My woman will definitely be the emperor from now on, so don't worry." Yun Xianxian didn't dwell on this anymore. If Lu Chen liked to toss, just do it. Who would let himself be conquered by him? At this time, Lu Chen hugged Yun Xianxian and turned over slightly, letting her lie on him. Then he gently stroked her jade back with his big hands to soothe her emotions. After the violent storm, the tranquility at this time made Yun Xianxian feel even more happy inside. This was a kind of spiritual joy, and this kind of joy was what she liked most. Although the happiness she had experienced in the past month made her unable to stop, it was too intense and she was a little overwhelmed. She still liked to be intimate with Lu Chen like this, and then quietly feel the temperature of his body. After a few hours, Yun Xianxian said to Lu Chen, "You have been back for so long, it's time to go see your confidants." Yun Xianxian also knew that she could not dominate Lu Chen alone, and she thought that a month had made her happy enough, and it was time to give up her position to others. Lu Chen did not respond, but just hugged Yun Xianxian tightly, feeling her soft skin. Of course, he knew that he would definitely go to other women later, but now he just wanted to enjoy this short tranquility. After a few hours, Lu Chen and Yun Xianxian took a bath together, and then got up and went to other wives and concubines to clock in for work. Mu Qinglan, who was in the process of cultivation, didn't know that Lu Chen had moved to another place to be busy. Her attention was on cultivation. As long as there was no danger, she didn't know what happened in the outside world. After half a month, Mu Qinglan finally stabilized her cultivation of the 4th level of the Saint Realm. Feeling the surging power in her body, Mu Qinglan was extremely happy. The stronger she was, the more she could protect the Emperor of Heaven from harm in this life. Thinking of the Emperor of Heaven, Mu Qinglan suddenly woke up. She hurriedly checked the next bedroom. When she found that Yun Xianxian was practicing cross-legged and there was no Lu Chen on the soft couch, Mu Qinglan was relieved. She thought they hadn't finished yet, and it was good to be done. Then the Emperor of Heaven should be practicing next, right? Thinking of this, Mu Qinglan released her consciousness and began to explore Lu Chen's location. The next moment, she was stunned as if struck by lightning. End of this chapter. Chapter 889 Return to Yancheng. Lu Chen did not continue to do bad things in Yun Xianxian's room. He now went to a larger bedroom. There was a very spacious bed in the middle of the bedroom. It was no problem for more than a dozen people to sleep on it. At this time, Lu Chen was busy in the bedroom. Seeing that the Emperor of Heaven had actually fallen into this state, Mu Qinglan's heart was instantly filled with anger. Of course, she would not be angry with Lu Chen, the Emperor of Heaven. She just felt that all this was the fault of the people around Lu Chen. It was those people who led Lu Chen astray and made the Emperor of Heaven so depraved. Mu Qinglan could not help but have a vicious idea in her heart. She really wanted to kill all these evil women. Of course, she would not do this. As the maid of the Emperor of Heaven, she would not make decisions for the Emperor of Heaven. It is a taboo for a maid to make decisions for her master, not to mention that her master is the Emperor of Heaven. If she killed the people around the Emperor of Heaven, she and the Emperor of Heaven would become enemies at that time. No matter how these women led the Emperor of Heaven astray, even if they had to be dealt with, it would be the Emperor of Heaven's own decision after he recovered his memory. She must now find a way to cheer up the Emperor of Heaven. However, how can she cheer up the Emperor of Heaven? At the same time, Lu Chen was still busy with his own affairs, and Wu Yunwan and the others had been completely defeated by Lu Chen. Facing Lu Chen's torture, they could only beg for mercy. Lu Chen did not stay in Black Dragon City for too long. After only half a month, Lu Chen ended his conquest in Black Dragon City. Seeing that Lu Chen was finally over, Mu Qinglan, who had been watching, breathed a sigh of relief. She thought to herself that the Emperor of Heaven would focus on cultivation now, right? After all, in this kind of thing, there will always be a period of emptiness after a short period of happiness. During this period, the Emperor of Heaven should not be affected by women and focus on cultivation. Obviously, Mu Qinglan's guess was wrong. After Lu Chen bathed in the bathtub, he moved to Mu Qinglan's bedroom. Mu Qinglan, who was peeping at the next door, felt guilty when she saw Lu Chen suddenly appear. She was a saint, and the entire palace was under her perception. She didn't deliberately peek at what Lu Chen was doing, but she couldn't ignore it in her perception. It's like someone is doing that kind of thing in front of you. Even if you don't deliberately look at it, you can see it as long as you open your eyes. It's the same for Mu Qinglan. As long as she doesn't deliberately block her perception, she can perceive what's happening in the entire palace. But no matter what, she has peeped at what Lu Chen did. Mu Qinglan is a little worried that Lu Chen has discovered that she is peeping at him. Mu Qinglan quickly bowed and said, "Greetings, greetings to the Emperor of Heaven." Lu Chen smiled faintly, "No need to be polite. How is it, are you used to the Tianchen world?" Mu Qinglan replied, "Your Majesty, I am used to it. The spiritual energy of the Tianchen world is even richer than that of the Tianhua world, which is very suitable for cultivation." Lu Chen said, "Just get used to it. By the way, I plan to return to the Yanchinj Palace. Do you want to go to Yanchinj with me?" During the days when Mu Qinglan was in the palace, she also asked the palace maids about some things about the Xia Dynasty. She naturally knew that there was another palace in the Xia Dynasty. When she thought of the many demon women in that palace, Mu Qinglan felt something was wrong in her heart. The Emperor of Heaven has been indulged in the Black Dragon City Palace for so long, could it be that he would indulge in the Yanchinj Palace again? Mu Qinglan said, "Thank you, Your Majesty. I am willing to follow Your Majesty forever." Lu Chen said, "Well, let's go now." After the words fell, Lu Chen waved his hand, and the next moment the two of them appeared directly in the Fenjiun Hall of Yanchinj Palace, where many beautiful women were sitting. Today is the monthly tea party. In the past, the tea party was Lu Chen's indulgence day, but later even if Lu Chen was not in Yanchinj Palace, the tea party was still retained. As long as Lu Chen's wives and concubines in Yanchinj have no particularly important things, they will come to the monthly tea party, which is also a gathering to promote sisterly feelings. Seeing the Ying Yan in the hall, Mu Qinglan's face became even colder. Although she had known that Lu Chen had many wives and concubines in Yanchinj, she still felt extremely angry when she saw these women with her own eyes. She found that the looks of these women were all first class, and each of them was extremely beautiful. With so many demon women, the Emperor of Heaven would be drained of his body by them sooner or later. In this case, how could the Emperor of Heaven improve his cultivation? Seeing Lu Chen suddenly appear in the hall, the women were very excited. Lu Chen had not been back for a long time, and they all missed him very much. They did not expect that Lu Chen would come back from the tea party today. It happened that they could be together today to relieve their longing for each other. However, when the women saw a cold and beautiful woman following Lu Chen, they were slightly stunned. Then they all had an idea, worthy of being the Emperor of Heaven. At this time, Mu Zixuan and others said in unison, "Greetings to His Majesty the Emperor of Heaven." Lu Chen smiled slightly, glanced at the women, and walked straight to the throne in Fenjiun Hall and sat down. "Ladies, did you miss me?" Chu Yukin smiled and responded, "Chener, you are asking knowingly, they are all thinking about your quick return." Seeing a woman talking to Lu Chen so casually, and even calling him Chener in such an intimate way, Mu Qinglan's eyes flashed with murderous intent. In her opinion, this was disrespectful to the Emperor of Heaven. A demon woman who was not even a saint dared to call His Majesty the Emperor of Heaven like this. She deserved death. The women also clearly felt the invisible pressure emanating from Mu Qinglan. Mu Zixuan asked with a smile, "Your Majesty, do you know who this sister is?" Lu Chen said directly, "Oh, by the way, let me introduce you. This is my protector, named Mu Qinglan, a saint-level cultivator. If you have any questions about cultivation in the future, you can ask her." At this point, Lu Chen looked at Mu Qinglan and asked with a smile, "Lanner, I let them ask you for advice on cultivation issues, should it be okay? Since they are your Majesty's Taoist companions, it is naturally my job to help them improve their strength." Mu Qinglan looked calm, and it seemed that her inner emotions could not be seen. But the girls immediately felt that there was something wrong with Mu Qinglan's tone. Mu Qinglan was obviously hostile to them, but the girls didn't care too much. Now they were even more surprised that Lu Chen actually found a Saint Realm strongman to be his protector. Didn't Lu Chen say that the Chaos Star Sea was a wild star field? How could there be a Saint Realm cultivator? Could it be that Lu Chen had already left the Chaos Star Sea? Lu Chen looked at Mu Zixuan at this time. "Zixuan, please have someone arrange a place for Lanner to live. She will be with me most of the time in the future and needs a fixed place to practice." After hearing what Lu Chen said, the girls understood. Lu Chen's words basically defined the identity of the Saint Realm strongman in front of them. As long as the beautiful woman entered Lu Chen's harem, there was only one ending in the end, that is, to become Lu Chen's woman. Even if the other party was stronger, it would be the same. Back then, Yun Xianxian was stronger than Lu Chen, but in the end she still couldn't escape Lu Chen's clutches. End of this chapter. Subscribe to Chinese Novel Audio Wave. Chapter 890 Tea Party. Mu Zixuan's face showed a warm expression like spring breeze. "Sister Mu, please follow me." Mu Zixuan called her sister without waiting for Mu Qinglan to speak. She was different from those women in Black Dragon City who only knew how to practice. She knew how to adapt. She knew very well that as long as she entered Lu Chen's harem, she would be Lu Chen's woman. There was no senior or no senior, even if Mu Qinglan had the cultivation of the Saint Realm. Mu Qinglan did not show any displeasure on her face when she heard Mu Zixuan's address. She also asked Lu Chen's wives and concubines to call her sister in Black Dragon City. Since they were all Lu Chen's wives and concubines, there was nothing wrong with calling her sister. Mu Qinglan then said to Lu Chen, "Your Majesty, I'll take my leave first." "Well, okay." After Mu Qinglan left, the women looked at each other, as if they were making some eye contact. The next moment, Chu Yukin said to the maid at the door, "Close the door." After the voice fell, the door of Fenjiun Palace slowly closed. Seeing this scene, Lu Chen naturally knew what would happen next. Fenjiun Palace was originally his bedroom, and the main purpose of the tea party was to cultivate their relationship. It was self-evident what to do next. Lu Chen teased, "What? Are you trying to assassinate me? Hearing this, Wang Qingkai smiled and said, I'm afraid that only your majesty can assassinate us. We don't have any weapons on us. Lu Chen glanced at Wang Qingkai, who was wearing a pink long dress and looked charming. Lu Chen then waved his hand, and Wang Qingkai's body flew directly into Lu Chen's arms. Before Wang Qingkai could react, he heard a hissing sound. The next moment, Lu Chen directly let Wang Qingkai sit on him. Wang Qingkai did not expect Lu Chen to be so direct, and could not help but exclaimed, "Ah!" After Lu Chen and Wang Qingkai entered the state, they did not move around, and smiled and said to Wang Qingkai, "Don't always think about getting something for nothing, take the initiative to get what you want." Wang Qingkai instantly understood what Lu Chen meant. She glanced at Lu Chen dimly, then raised her slender jade hands, hugged Lu Chen's neck, and then hung on Lu Chen. At this time, Lu Chen looked at his wives and concubines below and said with a smile, "Don't look at me, the tea party will continue." The women came back to their senses, and then they continued to discuss what happened recently. Chu Yukin asked, "Chener, have you left the Chaos Star Sea during this period? There must be no saint-level cultivators in a place like the Chaos Star Sea." All Chu Yukin could think of was that Lu Chen must have left the Chaos Star Sea and went to other star fields. Lu Chen took a deep breath and said, "Hu. No. It must be said that this pendant on his body is really capable of tossing around." He used the Suan Palace right away, and then didn't care about his image at all, and didn't care about being stared at by so many people. The tea party has been held countless times, and Wang Qingkai has long been accustomed to being stared at, so he doesn't mind being stared at all. Chu Yukin glanced at Wang Qingkai, the foxy woman, speechlessly, and then continued to ask, "Then Chener, how did you meet that saintly woman?" Lu Chen replied, "She was my mate in my previous life, and I found her using the space-time mirror." Hearing this, Chu Yukin was slightly stunned. She had most of the memories of the Queen of Shenyu, especially the memories related to Lu Chen, she had almost no missing. How come she had never heard that Lu Chen had such a mate in his previous life? Her master was very obsessed with Lu Chen in her previous life, and had already investigated all kinds of information about Lu Chen clearly, and she knew all the women around Lu Chen. If a woman like Mu Qinglan is really Lu Chen's maid, she shouldn't have no memory of it, right? However, Lu Chen may have lied to her in this matter. Chu Yukin thought that maybe Mu Qinglan was not outstanding at that time, so the master didn't notice her. Since Mu Qinglan was Lu Chen's maid in his previous life, there is nothing to worry about. Chu Yukin was a little worried that Mu Qinglan was sent by those princes at first. But then again, even if Mu Qinglan was sent by those princes, it would be a waste of effort. Thinking of this, Wang Qingkai took a look at the pendant on Lu Chen. At this moment, Wang Qingkai suddenly wailed, "Ah!" Seeing this scene, all the women felt a little incredible. It had only been a short time, and Wang Qingkai. After a while, Wang Qingkai recovered slightly. She stood up and looked at Lu Chen with a face full of resentment and said, "Your Majesty, you have learned new tricks again." Lu Chen smiled and said, "If I don't learn more tricks, how can I suppress you?" Wang Qingkai curled his lips and said nothing more. Then the tea party continued. Lu Chen asked about the situation of the Great Xia Dynasty and the daughters of each. Lu Chen was still quite concerned about his offspring. Although these children were born under the induction of the system, they were his own blood after all, and he still had a deep affection for them. The tea party today is much more serious, unlike before when everyone ran to the big bunk to mess around. At this time, Lu Chen's wives and concubines were all sitting in the hall, and then they went to discuss with Lu Chen one by one. When Lu Chen discussed with them, he was also talking about some serious matters with them. Apart from the fact that the pendant on Lu Chen looked a bit out of place, the entire hall looked as if some kind of meeting was really being held. Soon, Chu Yukan and the other girls found out that Lu Chen had used some tricks to make them lose after just a few moves, even Chu Yukan. This reminded the girls of the Saint Mu Qinglan, and they suddenly felt fortunate that Lu Chen had brought back a saint-level warrior, otherwise they would have suffered. At this time, Mu Zixuan had already arranged a bedroom for Mu Qinglan. After arranging the bedroom, Mu Zixuan couldn't wait to ask, "Sister Mu, what do you think of this bedroom in front of you?" Mu Qinglan glanced at the magnificent palace in front of her, and then said, "It doesn't matter where I practice, I'll choose this one." Mu Zixuan said with a smile, "Then this will be Sister Mu's bedroom from now on. If you need anything in the future, you can tell me at any time, or you can talk to the maid. I have something else to do, so I won't disturb Sister Mu's practice." Mu Qinglan said lightly, "Okay." As soon as Mu Qinglan finished speaking, Mu Zixuan turned around and left, looking like she was in a hurry to do something. Seeing this scene, Mu Qinglan's face darkened. She had sensed the situation in Fenjiun Palace. Although Fenjiun Palace did not have the same situation as the Black Dragon City Palace for the time being, it looked like they were discussing something, but there was always someone hanging on Lu Chen's body. Obviously, Mu Zixuan was also anxious to join the flower arrangement meeting. After a while, Mu Qinglan sighed deeply. It might not be easy to cheer up the Emperor of Heaven. If it were someone else, they would have been fed up long ago, but the Emperor of Heaven didn't feel fed up at all. For the next 6 months, Mu Qinglan had been trying to figure out how to stop Lu Chen from falling, and Lu Chen continued to practice the 100 phoenixes. With the 100 phoenixes, Mu Zixuan and others would become weak when they saw Lu Chen. They could only hope that the saint could share their burden as soon as possible. End of this chapter. Chapter 891. Your Majesty, please get busy first. Time flies, and a few years have passed in the blink of an eye. In these few years, the Skyfire dynasty has sent many people to the Chaos Star Sea. Mu Zhengqing did not tell the Skyfire people what they were doing in the Chaos Star Sea at first. It was not until the Skyfire people saw Lu Chen that they understood why their Majesty asked them to come to this seemingly desolate star field. With the addition of the masters of the Skyfire dynasty, the luck of the Tianchen world has become stronger, and the cultivation speed of the cultivators in the Tianchen world has also become faster and faster. The most important thing is that Lu Chen asked these strong men of the Skyfire dynasty to serve as mentors of the Cultivation Academy. With the addition of these strong men, the cultivation of the students of the Cultivation Academy has improved faster, and the overall strength of the Great Xia Dynasty has also increased rapidly. However, it is precisely because of these strong men of the Skyfire Dynasty that the cultivation academies opened by those previous cultivation sects have gradually declined. The official academy instructors of the Great Xia Dynasty are all at the Gigzu realm, and there are even semi-saints who come to teach. In the past, the strongest of those cultivation sects were only at the Huashan realm. Naturally, the cultivators of the Tianchen world are more willing to join the official cultivation academy. Lu Chen's move further weakened the strength of the cultivation sects. Now the cultivation sects can only pin their hopes on recruiting students who graduated from the cultivation academy. After all, as long as the benefits are enough, there will still be people joining them, but this also increases the pressure on the major cultivation sects. It is impossible to attract talents, especially cultivators who come out of the cultivation academy, without spending a lot of money, which invisibly increases the pressure on the major cultivation sects. In order to earn more spirit stones to maintain the operation of the sects, the current cultivation sects can only cooperate with the Great Xia Dynasty obediently. There is no way. Now, whether it is the world where mortals live or the world of cultivators, the Great Xia Dynasty controls the economic lifeline. If you want to do business and earn spiritual stones, you can't avoid the Great Xia Dynasty. In this way, the Great Xia Dynasty's control over the internal cultivators is more stable. Now only the sects with problems will think of opposing the Great Xia Dynasty. Because of Su Hanyan, the development of the Mixian sect has been good in recent years, especially the cultivation academy founded by the Mixian sect has become the largest among the sect cultivation academies. However, with the increasing number of official cultivation academies established by the Great Xia court in recent years, and the strong men of the Skyfire clan serving as tutors in official cultivation academies, the number of students enrolled in the Mixian sect's cultivation academy has also decreased. The elders of the Mixian sect also saw the dilemma of the Mixian sect's cultivation academy, so they thought about asking Su Hanyan to talk to Lu Chen to see if they could borrow 1 or 2 strong men from the Skyfire clan to teach at the Mixian sect's cultivation academy. In the eyes of the elders of the Mixian sect, their leader is the woman of Emperor Xia, and Emperor Xia has always been very good to his women. Moreover, the development and growth of the Mixian sect over the years is inseparable from Lu Chen's support. If Su Hanyan took the initiative to find Emperor Xia might agree to their request. The elders' thoughts made Su Hanyan feel very angry. The guys in the Mixian sect regarded her as someone else, and asked her, the leader, to find Lu Chen whenever there was something. Although she was indeed Lu Chen's woman, she had to make huge sacrifices every time for the benefit of the Mixian sect, which seemed to be a matter of course in the eyes of those guys in the Mixian sect. Although she was the leader and she did have this responsibility, she felt like she was being sold when she thought of those people asking her to find Lu Chen whenever there was a problem. But then again, she was no different from being sold now. At this moment, in the purple smoke sand tent, Su Hanyan sat cross-legged on the soft couch, looking at the student statistics table of the Mixian sect's cultivation academy in her hand, with a very serious expression. Inside the room, wisps of green smoke flew out of the purple incense burner, filling the entire room. The fragrance of green smoke can refresh the mind and make people relax, but at this time Su Hanyan still frowned, and her heart was not happy at all. Recently, the number of excellent students enrolled in the Mixian sect has been decreasing. In fact, as long as it is a cultivation academy, there is no shortage of students, because many mortals also want to cultivate immortals and become immortals. However, most mortals do not have the qualifications to cultivate, and the cultivation academy cannot recruit mortals as students. The students enrolled in the cultivation academy are naturally practitioners with cultivation talents. Now, when choosing an academy, practitioners with cultivation talents must first consider the official cultivation academy of Daxia. If the official cultivation academy of Daxia limits the number of admissions, it is okay. After all, there are 3 worlds in the Chaos Star Sea, and there are still many practitioners. The Mixian sect can still get a share of the profits. However, in recent years, more and more official cultivation academies have been opened in Daxia. Almost every state has several cultivation academies. Even if the cultivation academy of a sect like the Mixian sect is opened in an imperial city like Black Dragon City, it is difficult to compete with the official cultivation academy of Daxia for students. When Su Hanyan thought of this, she felt a little headache. Could it be that she had to take the initiative to find that bastard again? Su Hanyan actually didn't want to trouble Lu Chen. At the beginning, she chose to become Lu Chen's woman in order to get more cultivation resources from Lu Chen. As Su Hanyan practiced and fell in love with Lu Chen, Su Hanyan's heart was already somewhat disgusted with this exchange of interests. She was very worried that Lu Chen would think that she was trying to get benefits from him, so he would come to her door again and again to be confronted by her. And she was also worried that as she made more and more requests, Lu Chen might hate her. When she thought of this, Su Hanyan's hand holding the enrollment form fell on the couch, and she couldn't help but sigh. The next moment, a familiar voice sounded in the room. "What troubles have you encountered? Why are you sighing? Beauty should smile more. Frowning doesn't look so good." Hearing this familiar voice, Su Hanyan still sat on the couch, and her eyes did not look in the direction where the voice came from. She was too familiar with this mean voice. Seeing that Su Hanyan ignored him, Lu Chen came to the couch and sat down, then said with a smile, "If you have any difficulties, you can come to me. Su Hanyan hesitated for a moment, but finally did not speak, just said lightly, it's not a big deal. After the voice fell, Su Hanyan stretched out her legs, then lay straight on the couch, and said with a look of letting people pick her up, Your Majesty, you should get busy first. Su Hanyan is not a fool. She doesn't believe that Lu Chen doesn't know what problems the Mixian sect has encountered. This guy must be waiting for her to ask him, and then make some crooked requests. He wanted her to take the initiative to speak, but she refused to say it. Anyway, she didn't plan to ask him for help in this matter. Once people have feelings, they will care about the opinions of the person they like. Su Hanyan didn't care before, but now she doesn't want Lu Chen to look down on her again. Seeing Su Hanyan lying motionless, waiting for him to press on her, Lu Chen laughed. End of this chapter. Chapter 892, You really don't need any help from me? Over the years, Lu Chen has come to Su Hanyan several times a year, but every time he comes to see Su Hanyan treats it as a routine. Without much nonsense, he starts right away. Lu Chen is not angry either. After all, Su Hanyan manages the entire Mixian sect, has a large family and a busy schedule, and doesn't want to waste time. Lu Chen did not hesitate at this time. He turned over and came to the soft couch, pressed her under him, and then looked down at her eyes and asked, Hanyan, do you really have nothing to help me with? Su Hanyan looked at Lu Chen's fiery eyes and said lightly, If I really have something to ask His Majesty for help, I will definitely not be polite. Lu Chen said, Okay, since there is no, forget it. As soon as the voice fell, Lu Chen reached out his hand, and then a rip sound was heard in the room. Su Hanyan looked at Lu Chen dimly. This guy is like this every time he comes. For a cultivator, ordinary clothes will naturally be torn to pieces with a slight pull. But Lu Chen is the Emperor of Heaven after all, the master of the entire Great Xia Dynasty, and he doesn't know how to pay attention to his image. But then again, in front of her, it seems that he really doesn't need to pay attention to his image. After Lu Chen sank down, Su Hanyan hummed, but Lu Chen didn't mess around. Instead, he looked into her eyes and said, I plan to set up 10 more cultivation academies in Black Dragon City recently. What do you think? Hearing this, Su Hanyan's body and mind tensed up, this bastard. The Cultivation Academy of the Mixian sect is in Black Dragon City. Originally, the Cultivation Academy of the Mixian sect could not recruit students with better qualifications recently. If Lu Chen still set up 10 cultivation academies in Black Dragon City, then the Cultivation Academy of the Mixian sect might really be over. Feeling Su Hanyan's sudden tension, Lu Chen took a long breath, looking very enjoyable. Su Hanyan stared into Lu Chen's eyes and said, Your Majesty, are you kidding me? Lu Chen said, The spiritual energy of the Tianchen world is getting stronger and stronger, and more cultivators are born. The previous cultivation academies are no longer enough. I do plan to establish more cultivation academies to help more cultivators improve their cultivation. Su Hanyan asked, Then there is no need to be in Black Dragon City. Lu Chen said, Yancheng and Black Dragon City are both imperial cities, but Yancheng is more inclined to the imperial city of mortals, while Black Dragon City is more inclined to cultivators, and there are many more cultivators in Black Dragon City than in Yancheng. Although Lu Chen started in Yancheng, he really ruled the entire Tianchen world and controlled the cultivators from Black Dragon City. In addition, the cultivator conferences were basically held in Black Dragon City. Black Dragon City has long been the imperial city of cultivators in the world. As for Yancheng, it was just the place where the Great Xia Dynasty issued orders. Of course, there are also many cultivators in Yancheng, but compared with Black Dragon City, there are much fewer. It was precisely because there were more cultivators in Black Dragon City that Lu Chen planned to create more cultivator academies in Black Dragon City, and there were already enough cultivator academies in Yancheng. Lu Chen also had another reason for doing this, which was that Yancheng was where most of his wives, concubines, and children lived, so Lu Chen didn't want too many cultivators in Yancheng. Hearing Lu Chen's words, Su Hanyan reacted and realized that Lu Chen didn't look like he was joking. He really wanted to establish more cultivator academies in Black Dragon City. After Su Hanyan was silent for a moment, she suddenly pushed Lu Chen's chest with her jade hand. "Get up." Lu Chen asked in confusion, "What's wrong?" Although he was a little confused, Lu Chen slowly pulled away. He wanted to see what Su Hanyan was going to do. After Lu Chen pulled away, Su Hanyan lay on the couch with her back to Lu Chen. At this time, Su Hanyan turned her head slightly and looked at Lu Chen and said, 10 academies are too many. Can we reduce a few?" Seeing this scene, Lu Chen laughed, but he didn't hesitate and leaned over directly. It must be said that it is right to be with Su Hanyan and not take the right path. Su Hanyan gritted her teeth, tried to calm the restless spiritual power in her body, and continued, "The number of students enrolled in the Mixian Sect Cultivation Academy has been decreasing recently. If Daxia continues to add 10 academies in Black Dragon City, the Mixian Sect Academy will most likely not be able to recruit students." Lu Chen took action at this time, busy with business while saying, "Didn't you just say that you had nothing to ask me for help?" Su Hanyan hummed twice and didn't say anything. He took the initiative to let him take the wrong path, and he still said such a thing. Seeing that Su Hanyan didn't speak, Lu Chen continued, "Who? Do you want me to lend you a few strong men from the Tianhuo clan and let them serve as mentors in your academy?" Hearing this, Su Hanyan was slightly stunned, but was quickly brought back to his senses by the strangeness of his body. At the beginning, the elders of the Mixian sect had this idea, but Su Hanyan felt that this condition was a bit too much. That was a real Gigzu realm expert, not a Gigzu realm expert who was promoted by the Holy Light Armor. A cultivator who can truly reach the Gigzu realm has a high level of understanding of cultivation. Once the Mixian Sect's Cultivator Academy really has a Gigzu realm instructor, there will definitely be many cultivators who choose their academy. Although the Daxia official academy is good, it also has many restrictions, and some good seedlings are actually unwilling to be constrained by others. Most cultivators are like this, they like to be free and unrestrained, but unfortunately only the official academy of Daxia has powerful people in the Gigzu realm, and even semi-saints to preach. If there is an academy without so many restrictions and with a Gigzu realm instructor, there will definitely be many cultivators coming to study. That's why Su Hanyan also felt that it would be too much if she made this request. She was very afraid that she would annoy Lu Chen if she made this request, so when Lu Chen came just now, she said it was okay, but Lu Chen brought it up first. Su Hanyan forced herself to endure the discomfort of her body, turned her head and looked at Lu Chen, her face flushed. What are the conditions? There is no benefit without reason in the world. She never believed that pie would fall from the sky. Lu Chen suddenly gave such a big benefit to the Mixian sect, which must be conditional. Lu Chen smiled and said, "You are my wife. Isn't it my duty as a husband to support your career?" Su Hanyan looked at Lu Chen with suspicion. She didn't believe what Lu Chen said. But then again, she really didn't have any conditions to offer to Lu Chen. In order to exchange for cultivation resources, she had already mortgaged her body to Lu Chen. Even her body belonged to Lu Chen. What conditions could she offer that Lu Chen would be interested in? Just when Su Hanyan didn't know what conditions to offer, Lu Chen said, "It's really wonderful." Su Hanyan rolled her eyes at Lu Chen. Even if Lu Chen was the Emperor of Heaven, she couldn't stand hearing this. End of this chapter. Chapter 893, An Unknown Ferry Boat Outside the Qunren World. In the end, Lu Chen did not put forward any more conditions. Not only did he not put forward any conditions, but he fed Su Hanyan. Lu Chen felt that he was a kind man and a good husband. A month later, in Su Hanyan's room. Su Hanyan looked at Lu Chen with a humiliated expression and glared at him fiercely. Lu Chen hugged her soft body and said with a smile, "What's wrong? Do you still want to?" Before Lu Chen finished speaking, Su Hanyan immediately interrupted and said, "Your Majesty, can you not practice that kind of martial arts in the future?" Lu Chen asked with a puzzled expression, "What martial arts? You mean the dragon and phoenix yin and yang gong?" Su Hanyan looked at Lu Chen with resentment, and she immediately said, "Your Majesty should know very well." Su Hanyan was naturally not talking about the dragon and phoenix yin and yang gong. Although the dragon and phoenix yin and yang gong can also make her and Lu Chen have the same rhythm to a certain extent, they can't share feelings at all. Obviously, Lu Chen has learned a kind of unorthodox dual cultivation technique. She found something wrong a long time ago, but she didn't think much about it at first, thinking that she couldn't control her body because she hadn't seen Lu Chen for too long. But in recent years, every time Lu Chen came, she would be completely influenced by Lu Chen's feelings. Even a fool would find something wrong. It is obvious that Lu Chen used some special technique to bind their spirits together, and they were completely connected. Lu Chen didn't say it, he just smiled faintly. "Where is the technique? We can only say that our cooperation is more tacit." Hearing Lu Chen's words, Su Hanyan rolled her eyes at Lu Chen and didn't say anything more. This guy didn't want to say it, anyway. She had basically confirmed that Lu Chen must have used some kind of technique, but this technique didn't harm her body. The only harm might be that they couldn't control themselves when doing that kind of thing. But strictly speaking, that wasn't a harm. Lu Chen gently stroked Su Hanyan's jade back, enjoying the tranquility after the storm, but at this moment, a voice suddenly came into his brain. "Your Majesty, the immortal boats of other worlds were found outside the Qinren world." Hearing this, Lu Chen was stunned for a moment. This was Nangang Qinja speaking to him with his puppet clone. Although there was only a trace of spiritual connection between the puppet and him, it was still no problem to transmit a person's voice. After coming to his senses, Lu Chen directly pulled himself up. Feeling Lu Chen's body leaving her, Su Hanyan was slightly stunned. She looked up at Lu Chen, feeling a little confused as to why Lu Chen got up so quickly. Wouldn't he continue to soak for a while? At this time, Lu Chen stroked Su Hanyan's jade face and said, "Hanyan, I have something else to do, so I'll leave first. I have already arranged the tutor for the academy. In a few days, a cultivator from the Gigzu realm will come to teach at your academy." Hearing Lu Chen's words, Su Hanyan did not try to keep Lu Chen, but just said lightly, "Okay." Then Lu Chen waved his hand, and the sweat and dirt on his body were instantly swept away. Then he waved his hand again, and a brand new platinum long robe appeared on him. After changing his clothes, Lu Chen came to the front of the saint-level teleportation array with a change of shape. After Lu Chen left, seeing the empty room, Su Hanyan sighed slightly, then sat cross-legged, and began to circulate her spiritual power to expel the impurities accumulated in her body for the past month. At the same time, Mu Qinglan, who was practicing in the Black Dragon City Palace, felt that Lu Chen went to the teleportation array, and knew that Lu Chen was about to leave the Tianchen world, so she also flashed and came to Lu Chen's side in an instant. "Your Majesty, are you going to the Qinren world?" Lu Chen said. "Well, an unknown ferry boat was discovered in the Qinren world. There may be an enemy invasion. I want to go and see what's going on." Hearing that there might be an enemy, Mu Qinglan hurriedly said, "Your Majesty, please let me go with you." She came to the Chaos Star Sea to protect Lu Chen. Now that Lu Chen is leaving the Tianchen world, she should stay with Lu Chen. Mu Qinglan thought that Lu Chen came to the teleportation array alone just now and did not send a message to her because he wanted to leave the Tianchen world alone. Mu Qinglan misunderstood Lu Chen. The reason why Lu Chen came to the teleportation array alone without notifying Mu Qinglan was because he knew that Mu Qinglan would sense him and follow him immediately after he felt him coming to the teleportation array. Hearing Mu Qinglan's words, Lu Chen also knew that Mu Qinglan might have misunderstood, so he said, "You are my protector, shouldn't you follow me?" After hearing what Lu Chen said, Mu Qinglan finally reacted. Yes, she is now the protector of the Emperor of Heaven. Logically, she should go wherever the Emperor of Heaven goes. The Emperor of Heaven did not send her a message. Didn't he think that she was a protector and knew what a protector should do? Thinking that she had misunderstood Lu Chen, Mu Qinglan hurriedly said, "I misunderstood your majesty, please punish me." Lu Chen said lightly, "Okay, let's go and see who came from outside the Qunren world." After the voice fell, Lu Chen subconsciously reached out to hold Mu Qinglan's hand. Seeing Lu Chen's outstretched hand, Mu Qinglan was stunned. Although she had held Lu Chen's hand when she used the teleportation array last time, there were other people there that time, and Lu Chen said that they had just used the teleportation array and didn't know whether the teleportation array was stable. However, in recent years they have used the teleportation array many times, and there has never been any problem with it, which is enough to prove that there is no major problem with the teleportation array. There is no need to hold hands now. Seeing that Mu Qinglan was still not holding his hand, Lu Chen realized that Mu Qinglan and himself had not yet made that breakthrough. If it was his wife or concubine, he would have held her hand without saying anything. Although in his eyes, Mu Qinglan would become his woman sooner or later, it had not happened yet after all. Holding hands is still a bit ambiguous. Lu Chen turned his head and looked at Mu Qinglan with a smile and said, "Just in case." Mu Qinglan said, "Your Majesty is right." Then Mu Qinglan took the initiative to stretch out her hand and held Lu Chen's hand together. Feeling the warmth of Lu Chen's palm, Mu Qinglan's mind was very active. Over the years, he has also followed Lu Chen to the Qunren world several times, but almost every time Lu Chen held Bai Qingqing's hand, she has always been a little envious. This time Lu Chen did not bring anyone else, nor did he bring Bai Qingqing. It was finally her turn to hold hands. Then, the two entered the portal, and in a moment, they appeared in the Qunren world. Now a teleportation port has been formed outside the Qunren world portal, which is heavily guarded. Goods from the Tianchen world and some goods from the Qunren world can be transported through this portal. After seeing Lu Chen appear, the soldiers protecting the teleportation array saluted and said, "Greetings to His Majesty the Emperor of Heaven." Lu Chen said nodded slightly, and then used the teleportation technique to directly come to the outside of the Qunren world. Chapter 894 Chaos Star Sea does not have the 9th prince of the Xia Dynasty. Outside the Qunren world, there are 3 immortal boats. Of course, these 3 immortal boats belong to the Great Xia Dynasty. Their main responsibility is to protect the Qunren world. If there is any abnormal situation or an enemy approaches, they will report it to the Great Xia Dynasty immediately. At this time, Lu Chen took out the Fiheng immortal boat from the system space, and then landed on the Fiheng immortal boat, and controlled the Fiheng immortal boat to fly to the side of the 3 immortal boats in front. After seeing the exclusive immortal boat of the Emperor of Heaven appear, the general and the Nangang sisters who were responsible for protecting the Qunren world immediately came to the Fiheng immortal boat. "Greetings to His Majesty the Emperor of Heaven. No need to be polite." After the voice fell, Lu Chen looked into the distance and asked, "Did you find anything?" Nangang Yuehua said expressionlessly, "After we warned those people, their immortal boat stopped behind a piece of world fragment and there was no movement." Hearing this, Lu Chen thought to himself that it seemed that the forces coming this time were likely to be hostile. If the immortal boat of the Skyfire dynasty went to the Qunren world, they would usually send someone to notify it first, and then let the immortal boat dock at the airport outside the Qunren world, and would not ask the immortal boat to hide. This would prove that the other party was not the immortal boat of the Skyfire dynasty, and had some unreliable purpose to enter the Chaos Star Sea. Lu Chen then controlled the Fiheng immortal boat to fly directly towards a world fragment in the distance. At this moment, on an immortal boat at the edge of the Chaos Star Sea, an old man was excitedly reporting something to a mirror in front of him. "Master, this is the Chaos Star Sea, and the Tianchen world is not far away. The immortal boats in front should belong to that Emperor Xia." At this time, Sima Haoan appeared in the mirror. Sima Haoan in the mirror said, "Such a luxurious immortal boat is probably a heavenly spiritual treasure. It seems that there are really secrets in the Tianchen world. I am more and more curious about the secrets of the Tianchen world." Sima Haoan said, "Master, shall we continue to move forward now?" Taoist Ningjing said lightly, "Let me see what the Tianchen world has." When Taoist Ningjing finished speaking, Sima Haoan instantly understood what he meant, so he controlled the immortal boat to fly towards the Fiheng immortal boat at the fastest speed. When the immortal boats of both sides were less than 0.1 light-years away, the immortal boats of both sides stopped. At this time, a huge voice came from the Yinhuo sect's ferry boat, "I am the leader of the Yinhuo sect. I am here to protect the 9th prince of the Shinayu dynasty under the order of King Jin of the Shinayu dynasty." Taoist Ningjing did not waste words, let alone test, and directly stated his identity. He is now in the 2nd level of Gigzu realm, and Sima Haoan only told him that there are only cultivators in the Huashan realm in Tianchen world when he came back, so in his opinion, as long as he takes action, he can easily deal with the cultivators in Tianchen world. After hearing what Taoist Ningjing said, Lu Chen sneered. He didn't expect that the Yinhuo sect would come back so soon. This time even the leader is here. "Since you are here, don't leave." The next moment, Lu Chen's voice echoed in the void, "There is no 9th prince of the Shinayu dynasty in the Chaos Star Sea." Hearing this, Taoist Ningjing continued, "So, you are not going to let us enter the Chaos Star Sea?" Lu Chen said, "If you want to come in, it depends on whether you are strong enough." As soon as Lu Chen finished speaking, the sword energy on Mu Qinglan's body began to rage immediately. Just when Mu Qinglan was about to make a move, Lu Chen suddenly raised his hand and patted her shoulder. Mu Qinglan was stunned for a moment, not knowing why Lu Chen wanted to stop her. The other party was obviously coming to cause trouble for Lu Chen. Lu Chen didn't want Mu Qinglan to make a move because he knew that once Mu Qinglan made a move, the 5th prince of the Shinayu dynasty would soon know that there was a saint around him. Of course, the saint can completely block the space. As long as the space is blocked and their consciousness is completely erased, their main body will not know what happened in the Chaos Star Sea. But the other party is not a fool. They can completely block the space and quietly get rid of their clones, so that their clones can't share the memory with the original body. It can be basically confirmed that a saint has taken action. Lu Chen still wants to keep a low profile for a while, and doesn't want to expose his true strength. If Lu Yanghua knows that there are masters of the saint realm around him, maybe he will directly send masters above the saint realm to assassinate him next time. Just in case, it's better to do it yourself. Lu Chen said to Mu Qinglan at this time, "Lanner, don't do it, I'll do it." Mu Qinglan had to retract her breath, "Yes, Your Majesty." Although she didn't know why the Emperor of Heaven didn't let her take action, the Emperor of Heaven must have his reasons for doing so. Mu Qinglan thought to herself that the strongest person in the ferry boat in front was only a cultivator of the 2nd level of Gigzu realm. With the current strength of the Emperor of Heaven, there should be no danger. Even if there is danger, she is watching from the side, and it won't be too late for her to take action at that time. Then Lu Chen suppressed his aura to the 9th level of the transformation realm, and flew directly to the front of the Yinhuo sect's immortal boat. Seeing someone coming out, and with only the aura of the transformation realm, Taoist Ningjing just sneered. A cultivator in the transformation realm actually wanted to block his way. Taoist Ningjing didn't know what the 9th prince of the Shinayu dynasty looked like, so he just thought that the young man in front of him was the 9th prince of the Xia Dynasty. Taoist Ningjing thought that as long as he killed the people around the 9th prince would have no one to protect him, and then he could complete Lu Yanghua's task. He himself did not intend to personally attack the 9th prince of the Xia Dynasty. After all, he was the son of the Emperor Shen Yu. Even if he was not favored, once he was convicted of this crime, it would be a contempt for the Emperor Shen Yu. However, after getting rid of the people and masters around the 9th prince had no strong people to protect him, and the Chaos Star Sea was such a remote star field. If the 9th prince encountered any enemies and was killed, it would not be his business. At this time, a huge mirror suddenly appeared above the Yinhuo Sec's immortal boat. Seeing this mirror, Lu Chen was stunned for a moment, and after a slight loss of consciousness, Lu Chen quickly came back to his senses. Feeling the demonic energy emanating from the mirror, Lu Chen's mouth corners slightly raised. He didn't expect it to be another demon messenger. Are there so many demon messengers in this universe? No wonder Yun Qingshu said that the catastrophe is coming. If his guess is correct, then once the number of demon cultivators or demons exceeds a certain number, the universe will most likely kill all living things and restart the entire universe. Lu Chen did not waste time and directly swung his sword. When the majestic sword energy was about to hit the mirror above the Yinhuo Sec's ferry boat, a person suddenly appeared in the mirror, and that person looked exactly like Lu Chen. Seeing this scene, Lu Chen and Mu Qinglan were stunned. What kind of magic is this? Lu Chen frowned slightly. Although the other party looked exactly like him, he exuded a strong demonic aura, which made him feel very uncomfortable. End of this chapter. Chapter 895 Taoist Ningjing takes action. When Lu Chen, who exuded demonic aura, came out of Taoist Ningjing's mirror, he also slashed out with a sword. The next moment, a sword aura that was exactly the same as the one wielded by Lu Chen came out of Lu Chen's sword. Cut out. Immediately afterwards, the two sword chi collided, causing a violent explosion. After the two sword chi exploded, both sides were fine. Lu Chen asked the system at this time, "System, can you identify what kind of spiritual weapon that mirror is?" A line of prompts immediately appeared in front of Lu Chen's eyes. This object is called the Nine Nether Mirror, an earth-level spiritual weapon that can replicate a spirit body with the same strength as the enemy's aura. Lu Chen was stunned for a moment when he heard the system prompt. Can he copy a spirit body with the same strength as the enemy? Then if you possess this spiritual weapon, wouldn't you be invincible? How could such a powerful spiritual weapon be at the earth level? Shouldn't it be at the emperor level? Just when Lu Chen thought the system had made a mistake, the system prompt sounded in Lu Chen's mind. This spiritual weapon can only copy the surface strength of the enemy, and is ineffective against strong men above saints. It cannot copy the enemy's hidden strength, and once copied, it cannot be copied a second time in a short period of time. Lu Chen realized that this was the case. No wonder this Nine Nether Mirror was just an earth-level spiritual weapon. At this time, Lu Chen suddenly had an idea. Since the spirit body not far away had copied his own strength, could he also be able to use the Chaos Demon Slaying technique? You must know that the Chaos Demon Slaying technique is a technique specifically designed to restrain demonic energy. At this time, the spirit body is exuding such a strong demonic energy. Once the Chaos Demon Slaying technique is activated, wouldn't that spiritual body directly self-destruct? Just when Lu Chen was thinking this, the spiritual body Lu Chen held the false god slaying sword and rushed towards Lu Chen. Lu Chen didn't panic at all. The corners of his mouth raised slightly, intending to test his guess. Then Lu Chen raised the sword in his hand and pointed it at the spiritual body Lu Chen, and then began to operate the Chaos Demon Slaying technique. As the Chaos Demon Slaying technique was operating in Lu Chen's body, wisps of white spiritual power emanated from Lu Chen's body and gathered in the sword. After seeing the white spiritual power emanating from Lu Chen's body, the spiritual body Lu Chen not only did not feel scared, but he also raised the false god-slaying sword in his hand, and then imitated Lu Chen's chaos demon-slaying technique. However, at this moment, the body of the spiritual body Lu Chen suddenly shattered and turned into tiny grains of light sand. Seeing this scene, everyone in the Yinhuo sect was immediately stunned. Their leader's move was powerful even against a strong man at the 9th level of the Return to Ruins realm. Why was it broken so quickly? At this time, Taoist Ningjing also felt that something was wrong. He had not noticed anything wrong with the spirit copied by Zhu Yujing just now, but it collapsed in a daze. Being able to destroy Zhu Yujing's spirit body so quickly also showed that the person in front of him was a bit powerful. Taoist Ningjing immediately put away his contemptuous thoughts. The next moment, countless lenses appeared in the void. These lenses flew around Lu Chen at extremely fast speeds, with Lu Chen's figure in the lenses. Taoist Ningjing shouted loudly, "The great dream of spring and autumn." As Taoist Ningjing finished speaking, Lu Chen immediately felt a little dazed. He vaguely seemed to see his wives and concubines appearing in the void. Lu Chen instantly realized that this was a spiritual attack. He immediately used the spiritual power in his body to stabilize his mind. As a Gigzu realm monk, Lu Chen's spiritual consciousness is already very powerful and is not so easy to conquer. Seeing that Lu Chen got out of control in a short period of time, Taoist Ningjing once again had a bad feeling in his heart. It stands to reason that his spring and autumn dream technique can easily control the monks in the realm of transformation. Even if a monk in the realm of gods has a stable Taoist heart and strong spiritual consciousness, it will take a certain amount of time to be able to rely on his control, but the man in front of him is only slightly absent-minded. The speed of getting rid of control is too fast. Is he really just a monk in the realm of gods? No matter what, it turned out that the 9 nether mirror and the spring and autumn dream art had no effect on this person, so he had no choice but to take action himself. The next moment, another person who looked exactly like Lu Chen came out of Zhuyu mirror, but the aura on this person was much stronger. Seeing another person who was exactly the same as himself, Lu Chen immediately said to the system, "System, didn't you say that Zhuyu mirror cannot copy the same body as mine in a short time? How come Zhuyu mirror copied another one so quickly? A spirit like me?" Although Lu Chen was not afraid of the spirit copied by Zhuyu mirror, the spirit exuding strong demonic aura looked exactly like his own, which made Lu Chen feel very unhappy. The system replied, "This person is not a spirit, but Taoist Ningjing who used the power of Zhuyu mirror to disguise himself. In addition to replicating the spirit body, Zhuyu mirror also has an additional ability, which is to help the owner change his appearance." Hearing what the system said, Lu Chen was stunned for a moment, then he laughed and said to Taoist Ningjing, "You like to imitate others so much, are you too ugly to be embarrassed?" Taoist Ningjing was not angered by Lu Chen. He was indeed very ugly, especially after becoming a demon. His appearance became even more ugly, so he still would not show his true face for hundreds of years. Taoist Ningjing said calmly, "I am indeed ugly, but I will soon have a perfect face." Speaking of this, Taoist Ningjing's eyes flashed with cold light. Lu Chen could instantly understand what Taoist Ningjing meant. Taoist Ningjing wanted to tear off his face and turn it into his. As a demon cultivator, it is not surprising that he knows the art of changing faces, not to mention that Taoist Ningjing exudes the power of the devil, and is a demon messenger. Taoist Ningjing did not hesitate anymore, and raised his hand directly. The next moment, countless skeletons flew out from behind him. Taoist Ningjing thought to himself that even if this person really had the strength to fight against the Gigzu realm, he could not resist the erosion of demonic energy and the power of the devil. Especially the power of the devil and its restraint on the cultivators. Once the cultivators are infected with the power of the devil, their spirits are likely to have problems, and their strength will also decline. Seeing those skulls flying towards him, Lu Chen did not hesitate at all and took out the exorcism banner directly. The moment the exorcism banner appeared in Lu Chen's hand, Taoist Ningjing felt a great suppression, and the demonic energy on his body instantly became extremely restless, and even the power of the devil in his body seemed to want to leave his body. Taoist Ningjing stared at the exorcist banner in Lu Chen's hand. He felt uncomfortable only after the man took out the strange banner. Obviously, there was something wrong with the banner. However, even though he knew there was something wrong with the banner, Taoist Ningjing still did not retreat. He waved his hand, and a monster formed by the power of the devil immediately appeared above his head. The monster grew countless arms, followed the skeletons, and rushed straight to Lu Chen. When the skeletons were about to touch Lu Chen activated the exorcist banner, and the exorcist banner instantly emitted colorful light. End of this chapter. Subscribe to Chinese Novel Audio Wave. Chapter 896 How is it possible? When the colorful light of the exorcist banner came into contact with the demonic energy released by Taoist Ningjing, it instantly dispelled the demonic energy. The exorcist banner also emitted white spiritual energy, which seemed to have sensed the power of the demon, and turned into waves of air, rushing directly towards Taoist Ningjing. When the white spiritual energy released by the exorcist banner was about to approach, Taoist Ningjing's face suddenly changed. He found that the power of the demon in his body began to gradually leave his body, as if he wanted to escape, and he was shocked by the white spiritual energy like a wave. Taoist Ningjing's face was covered with cold sweat, and he was horrified. What kind of power was this? Why would it suppress the power of the demon in his body so much? No. It can't go on like this. Then Taoist Ningjing turned around and prepared to escape, but as soon as he turned around, he found that the man had blocked his way. Lu Chen clenched the sword in his hand, and the Chaos Demon Slayer art was running in his body. Then, he slashed with his sword. Ice Level 8 Sword. 8 cold lights instantly came to the front of Taoist Ningjing. The power of the demon in Taoist Ningjing was affected by the exorcist banner, and his reaction ability also decreased a lot. Before he could react, 8 sword lights passed through his body. Before he died, Taoist Ningjing widened his eyes, unable to believe that he was dead like this. How possible? As soon as the voice fell, Taoist Ningjing's body was instantly torn into pieces. The next moment, the power of the demon in Taoist Ningjing's body rushed out and fled in different directions. However, Lu Chen did not give the power of the demon a chance to spread. Lu Chen urged the exorcist banner again. The holy aura of the exorcist banner instantly covered the power of the demon. Then, the power of the demon turned into a stream of green smoke and completely dissipated. Seeing this scene, everyone in the Yinhuo sect stood on the deck of the immortal boat in a daze, not knowing what to do next. Sima Haoan sat on the ground. He originally thought that by bringing their leader with him, he could not only easily complete Liu Yanghua's task, but also get the treasures of the Tianchen world. However, this was the final result. This person clearly exudes the aura of the transformation realm. How could he have such a powerful strength? Their leader is a cultivator in the Gigzu realm. The other party actually killed their leader in such a short time. Run! Run immediately! Now they only have one way to escape. After Sima Haoan came to his senses, he controlled the ferry boat without hesitation and flew away. Seeing that the people of the Yinhuo sect wanted to escape, Lu Chen used the teleportation again. The distance of using the teleportation in the void is limited, but it is not a big problem to catch up with a ferry boat. In just a blink of an eye, Lu Chen appeared in front of the Yinhuo sect's ferry boat. Seeing that Lu Chen blocked their retreat, Sima Haoan hurriedly said loudly, "Form a formation. Now they can only fight to the death, otherwise they will die here." Following Sima Haoan's order, a phantom of a monster appeared again above the Yinhuo sect's immortal boat. The monster stretched out a pair of huge claws and grabbed Lu Chen directly. Seeing that the monster was formed by the power of the demons, Lu Chen once again activated the Exorcist banner, and then used the Chaos Demon slaying technique. The spirit of the Exorcist banner surged out like a wave again. When the Holy Spirit hit the monster figure that was gathered by the magic power, the monster disappeared directly, as if it had never existed. The people of the Yinhuo sect also suffered the backlash of the formation, and they vomited blood one by one. Sima Haoan saw that they were no match for Lu Chen together, and knew that they had no way to escape. In this case, there was only one last way left. Sima Haoan knelt on the deck of the immortal boat with a plop. "Senior, spare me. None of this has anything to do with us. We were forced to do this." Hearing Sima Haoan's words, the other members of the Yin Fire sect also reacted quickly, kneeling on the deck of the immortal boat in unison, and began to kowtow and beg for mercy. They were originally demon cultivators, and had no dignity to speak of. For them, staying alive was the first priority. Lu Chen glanced at the Yin Fire sect's immortal boat emitting demonic energy with a calm expression, and just sneered, and didn't continue to listen to their nonsense. Ice Level 8 Sword. The next moment, the sword energy containing the spiritual power of the Chaos Demon slaying art passed through the Yin Fire sect's immortal boat. After those Yin Fire sect members came into contact with the sword energy, their bodies instantly turned into tiny grains of light sand. The Exorcist banner and the Chaos Demon slaying art were very terrifying in suppressing the power of demon cultivators and heavenly demons. Even if Lu Chen did not use the strength of the Gigzu realm, he could easily solve the Taoist Ningjing and the people of the Yin Fire sect with the power of the Huashan realm alone. At this time, Mu Qinglan on the Fiheng immortal boat fell into deep thought. She was a little curious about what kind of skills Lu Chen practiced and why his spiritual power had such a terrifying suppression on the demonic energy and the power of the demon. Even she, a saint, was slightly affected when facing the power of the demon just now, but Lu Chen was not only not affected, but was able to kill those demon cultivators without using his full strength. For a while, Mu Qinglan developed a strong interest in the skills that Lu Chen practiced. For cultivators, the demon is the natural enemy. Almost all cultivators have a certain fear of the demon in their hearts, even saints are the same. Hundreds of years ago, there was also a demon with the strength of only the God transformation realm in the Tianhuo dynasty, but in order to deal with that demon, Mu Qinglan, a saint, spent a lot of effort. The biggest problem with the demons is that they can absorb people's fear and negative emotions to grow rapidly, and the power of the demons will also affect the consciousness of the cultivators, which makes even the weakest demons extremely difficult to deal with. If they can practice the technique used by the Emperor of Heaven, then the Tianhuo clan will no longer be afraid of the demons, but the technique that can suppress the demons is obviously not an ordinary technique. As the maid of the Emperor of Heaven, Mu Qinglan doesn't know how to ask Lu Chen for this technique. Just when Mu Qinglan was distracted, Lu Chen returned to the Fiheng Xianzhou. "Okay, the matter is resolved, and we should go back." Then, they returned to the Qunren world. After entering the Qunren world, Lu Chen did not immediately go to the teleportation array, but went to the palace of the Great Xia Dynasty. As for what to do next, the three women knew it in their hearts. When they thought that Lu Chen would waste time on the two demon women again, Mu Qinglan felt very helpless. Since she came to Chaos Star Sea, she has been trying to cheer up Lu Chen. She tried to get along with Lu Chen's wives and concubines, and then tried to change Lu Chen's mind through them, so that Lu Chen could focus on cultivation. But obviously, her method had no effect at all. This was not the problem of those witches. Mu Qinglan also knew that those witches had indeed persuaded Lu Chen tactfully to let Lu Chen focus on cultivation. However, Lu Chen was still obsessed with women. Seeing Lu Chen hugging the Nangang sisters and entering the bedroom, Mu Qinglan felt extremely anxious. The Emperor of Heaven has fallen so much in this life, what can he do? End of this chapter. Request leave. I am not feeling well, please take a day off. End of this chapter. Chapter 897 Your Highness, the yin fire cult failed. Lu Chen favored Sister Nangang just by the way. After all, they were already here and the two girls had seen him. What could he do if he didn't do something? Moreover, the two women discovered the enemy, notified him in advance, and made great achievements, which should not be rewarded properly. At the same time, Tianyuan world. In a secret room, an old man sitting cross-legged suddenly opened his eyes, and then he spurted out a mouthful of blood. The old man exuded a strong demonic energy. When the demonic energy spread out from his body, the entire secret room was shrouded in black mist. Taoist Ning Jing snorted, with a look of hatred in his eyes, "Damn it! What happened to that boy? Why did he restrain the power of the devil?" Although he himself did not die, only the clone died, but the feelings of the clone transmitted back through his spiritual consciousness still made him feel lingering fear. If that person appears in front of him, there is a high probability that his body will not be that person's opponent. From Taoist Ning Jing's point of view, Lu Chen didn't have much stakes. He could clearly feel that Lu Chen only had the strength of the God transformation realm when he took action. But just relying on the strength of the God transformation realm, he can easily disperse the power of the demon. This obviously shows that the other party has the means to restrain the power of the demon. Taoist Ningjing immediately thought of the strange flag that Lu Chen took out. Thinking of the seven-colored light emitted by that flag, Taoist Ningjing's demonic power actually became restless. Taoist Ningjing quickly closed his eyes and used his Kung Fu to stabilize the power of the demon in his body. After a while, Taoist Ningjing opened his eyes again and murmured, "We can't just let this matter go. You know, in the entire universe, the power of the devil is the nemesis of cultivators, and now there is a power that can restrain the power of the devil." This was a huge threat to him and the demon behind him. If he met Lu Chen again in the future, wouldn't he be doomed? Therefore, in Taoist Ningjing's heart, Lu Chen must die. Of course, he will definitely not be able to take action this time. Now that he knows that the other party has the means to restrain the power of the demon, if he takes action again, he will be seeking death. He thought in his heart that if Liu Yanghua knew that the person he wanted to kill had such a powerful person next to him, then Liu Yanghua would most likely send more powerful people to Tianchen world. Then he can borrow a knife to kill someone. Thinking of this, Taoist Ningjing stood up, took back all the demonic energy in the secret room, and then went directly to Liu Yanghua's palace. Liu Yanghua founded a dynasty in the Tianyuan world. Although he himself was not in the Tianyuan world and had returned to the Shanyu dynasty, he left his trusted followers in the Tianyuan world. Liu Yanghua was able to know immediately what happened in Tianyuan world. Liu Yanghua would not let go of his control over Tianyuan world until he obtained the immortal spirit body of Yun Xian Xian. Soon, Taoist Ningjing arrived at the imperial capital of the dynasty. When he entered the imperial capital, a voice came into his mind, "Master Ningjing, what is the wind that brings you here?" Taoist Ningjing instantly detected the direction of the sound. Without any hesitation, his body turned into a stream of light and arrived at a courtyard in the palace. In the courtyard, an old man was sitting in the pavilion in the lake, quietly sipping tea. After seeing Taoist Ningjing arriving, he said calmly, "Your Majesty has left Tianyuan world. If you have anything, just tell me." Taoist Ningjing said, "Your Majesty's mission to the Yinhuo sect failed. The other party is protected by a strong man in the God transformation realm." Hearing this, Shi Yuanqing, who had just picked up the teacup, was stunned, and his hand stopped in mid-air. After a moment, he came back to his senses. The realm of transformation into gods? If I remember correctly, Master Ningjing is in the realm of returning to the ruins, right? You, who are in the realm of returning to the ruins, are still afraid of the monks in the realm of transformation to the gods. Having said this, Shi Yuanqing's body emitted weak spiritual power. Soon he discovered that there was indeed something wrong with Taoist Ningjing's body, and his aura became much weaker. Obviously, Taoist Ning Jing's clone was beheaded. Shi Yuanqing frowned, has your clone been chopped off? Can a cultivator in the realm of gods behead your clone? Taoist Ning Jing said without hesitation, the other party has a strange spiritual weapon in his hand that can suppress my cultivation. Hearing this, Shi Yuanqing put down the teacup in his hand and fell into deep thought. Taoist Ning Jing continued at this time, National Master, please tell your Majesty this matter immediately. In addition, I suspect that this matter is related to Suanya Palace. Suanya Palace arrived in Tianchen world before our Yinhuo sect. According to me, as far as I know, their people have returned, but they have not brought back the people His Majesty wanted. I suspect that the monk in the divine transformation realm is the one who stayed from Suanya Palace. Shi Yuanqing thought for a while and then said, okay, I know, I will have someone send a message to your Majesty. Master Tranquility, please go back first. If His Majesty has any other arrangements, I will inform you in advance. Taoist Ning Jing said, then it will be troublesome for the Imperial Master. After the words fell, Taoist Ning Jing turned around and left. Taoist Ning Jing knew that Yungxiangxian was very important to Lu Yanghua. Now Suanya Palace not only did not bring him back, but also left someone to protect Yungxiangxian in Tianchen world. And even stopped people from the Yinhuo cult from assassinating Lu Yanghua's enemies. If Lu Yanghua finds out about this, Lu Yanghua will definitely be very angry and will definitely send someone to Tianchen world. As Taoist Ning Jing expected, after he left, Shi Yuanqing immediately came to the secret room of the palace. In the secret room, there was an altar. Through this altar, he could directly contact Lu Yanghua who was far away in the Xia Dynasty. After Shi Yuanqing activated the altar, a figure appeared above the altar in a moment, but this person was not Lu Yanghua. Shi Yuanqing respectfully saluted to the projection and said, "Greetings, Your Excellency." The man asked expressionlessly, "What's the matter?" Shi Yuanqing replied, "Your Excellency, the leader of the Yinhuo sect just came to the imperial capital. He said that the mission failed, and the Suanf Palace did not bring Yun Xianxian back, and also left a cultivator in the transformation realm in the Tianchen world to protect Yun Xianxian." Hearing this, the man in the projection instantly turned black. He did not expect that a low-level sect would dare to go against the prince of the Xia Dynasty. Then the man said, "I will report this matter to His Majesty. You should send someone to monitor the actions of Suanya Palace and see if there are any abnormal movements in Suanya Palace." Shi Yuanqing said, "Junior understands." Then the projection disappeared. At the same time, Xia Dynasty, King Jin's territory. Lu Yanghua was meditating and practicing, and a voice suddenly sounded outside the practice room, "Your Highness, the Yinhuo sect failed." Hearing this, Lu Yanghua opened his eyes and frowned slightly. As far as he knew, the Yinhuo sect were all demonic cultivators. Logically speaking, with their abilities, it should be no problem to deal with the fallen Lu Chen. Let alone dealing with Lu Chen, they have the strength to destroy the entire Suanya Palace. How could they fail? End of this chapter. Chapter 898, Your life really makes my brother sleepless. After Lu Yanghua came to his senses, he said coldly, "What a bunch of trash." He originally thought that these demon cultivators still had some strength and were good swords, but in the end they couldn't complete such an easy task. The master of the Suanya Palace is at the divine transformation realm at best, while the leader of the Yin Fire sect is still at the return to ruins realm, and the demonic energy of the demonic cultivator itself can restrain the monks. The most important thing is that the demon cultivators of the Yinhuo sect are not ordinary demon cultivators, especially Taoist Ning Jing. Taoist Ning Jing has the power of the demon in his body and is a demon envoy. The power of the demon can restrain the spiritual power of the monks even more. In this way, the Yinhuo sect has failed. Although he was a little angry, Lu Yanghua calmed down quickly. He just missed it once, it was no big deal. Lu Chen is a waste now, and since they already know that they are in Tianchen world, they can't escape. Then Lu Yanghua said to the people outside the training room, "Let Kuang Yan go there in person." "Yes, Your Highness." Lu Yanghua suddenly thought of something again, and then asked one more question, "Wait a minute, how did the Yin Fire sect fail?" It stands to reason that the Yin Fire sect cannot fail. After all, the leader of the Yin Fire sect has the strength to return to the ruins realm, and he is also a demon envoy. With the strength of Taoist Ningjing, even a saint may feel pressure when facing him. How could he miss so easily? There may be something wrong with this. After Lu Yanghua finished speaking, the subordinates outside the training room immediately replied, "Back to Your Highness." The leader of the Yinhuo sect said that this is because Suanya Palace sent monks at the transformation realm to protect Tianchen world. Hearing this, Lu Yanghua's face instantly became more gloomy. He didn't expect that a low-level sect would dare to do something against him. Suanya Palace felt that he was no longer in the Tianyuan world, so he took advantage of what they didn't have. Any solution? But having said that, even if Suanya Palace really sent monks at the realm of gods to protect Tianchen world, with the strength of the Yin Fire sect, they would not miss. After all, Taoist Ningjing is also a demon envoy from the Return to Ruins realm. It's impossible that he can't even kill a cultivator at the Divine Transformation realm, right? Lu Yanghua always felt that there was something wrong. Forget it, let Quan Jun go to Tianchen world to take care of things first, and when he comes back, he will go to Tianyuan world to destroy Suanya Palace. He actually didn't take Suanya Palace into his eyes, it was just a low-level force, but since the other party dared to disobey him like this, then they should pay the due price. Also, tell Kuang Yan that I don't like stains on my body. Although I don't know why the Yin Fire Church failed, since the Yin Fire Church failed, it should not continue to exist. There is no point in keeping a useless tool, and this tool is also a stain for him. At first, he thought about using the Yin Fire sect to do something, but it turned out that the Yin Fire sect couldn't even get rid of a single piece of trash, so what else would they do? Such a tool would have no value even if it kept them alive. My subordinate understands. Lu Yanghua said calmly, "Go down. My subordinates resign." After his men left, Lu Yanghua said to himself, "Ninth brother, your existence is really making it difficult for the emperor to sleep and eat well. Although Lu Chen is already a waste in this life, no one can say whether he will rise again." Lu Yanghua understood a truth after going through trials, that is, 30 years in Hedong, 30 years in Hexi, one day a weak person may turn into a man-eating tiger. On the surface, he felt that Lu Chen was dead, but his experience told him that as long as a person is not dead, there are infinite possibilities. He was tested in the Tianyuan world and before he recovered his memory, he was also a waste. Until the Tianyan stone began to exert its power and began to give him resources, he gradually grew up. In the end, he destroyed his original enemies and gradually recovered. After cultivating, he finally returned to the Great Xia Dynasty. If Lu Chen is not dead, what if the Tianyan stone becomes powerful and Lu Chen grows up again? Lu Chen in his previous life was too powerful, which made Lu Yanghua unable to let go. Even if he knew that Lu Chen had fallen, it would be best to die. Only death can make people feel at ease. And now is the best opportunity. On the one hand, Lu Chen's strength has plummeted and he has no memory of his previous life. On the other hand, even their father has given up on Lu Chen. Now that Lu Chen is dead, no one cares. Since it was the best time to get rid of Lu Chen, he naturally would not let this opportunity go. Originally, he wanted to let outsiders do this, but the Yin Fire sect was so bad that they couldn't even kill a trash, so he had to let someone else take action. It's nothing more than giving up another tool. If you give up one tool and solve the biggest threat, you won't lose anything. 1 month later, in the Great Xia Dynasty Palace, Lu Chen lay in Nangang Yuehua's arms, took a deep breath, then stood up and looked at her cold and charming cheeks with a hint of blush, and said with a smile, "Well, not bad, not bad, your strength has increased a lot." Hearing this, Nangang Yuehua's face became a little hot, and she naturally understood what strength Lu Chen was talking about. Her Suan Kung Fu has indeed become more refined, but the Suan Kung Fu does not actually help her improve her strength much. Instead, it is good for Lu Chen. Of course, Suan Kung Fu is not completely useless to her. Now the Suan Gong and Lu Chen's sense binding technique have formed a cycle. She practices Suan Gong to make Lu Chen enter the state faster, and Lu Chen uses the 100 birds paying homage to the phoenix to bind their senses, so that they have the same feeling. When Lu Chen is happy, she is happy too, so practicing Suan Gong is also accelerating her spiritual resonance with Lu Chen. At this time, Lu Chen turned his head and glanced at Nangang Kinja, and said with a smile, "Kinja, you are not bad." Nangang Kinja said, "Thank you for your compliment, Your Majesty." Lu Chen then pulled himself away and said to the two women, "That's it for this time. I'm leaving first. If you miss me, you can always go back to Tianchen World to find me through the teleportation array." In the past few years, Lu Chen would say this every time he left Qunren World, but the two women did not take the initiative to return to Tianchen World. On the one hand, they are very clear about the importance of Tianchen World, and on the other hand, they are also afraid that once they return to Tianchen World, they will not want to leave again. After Lu Chen used some kind of evil technique to bind their senses during practice, they gradually had a tendency to degenerate. Even Nangang Kinja, the evil cultivator, was terrified by this. In the past, dual cultivation could increase cultivation, but after Lu Chen used the 100 birds paying homage to the phoenix, they had no intention of practicing at all. Their spirits were always in an extremely excited state and they could not control themselves at all. After Lu Chen stood up, he waved his hand casually, and the sweat stains on his body were instantly cleaned by spiritual power. Then he waved his hand again, and a white brocade with gold edges was put on him. The two women hurriedly stood up and said, "Farewell, Your Majesty." Lu Chen left the palace in a flash. After noticing Lu Chen's departure, Mu Qinglan, who was practicing, opened her eyes and then teleported to Lu Chen's side. Seeing that Lu Chen did not go to the teleportation array, but flew high in the sky, and took out the Fihung ferry boat, Mu Qinglan asked in confusion, "Your Majesty, we are not going back to the Tianchen World." Lu Chen replied, "Not for the time being, I plan to go to the edge of the Chaos Star Sea to take a look." End of this chapter. Chapter 899. I plan to build a saint-level teleportation array in the Skyfire world. Lu Chen had long had the idea of expanding outside, but every time he thought of a quasi-emperor in the Huangshan Star territory, he suppressed his inner restlessness. Now he doesn't have the strength to compete with the quasi-emperor, so it would be better to keep a low profile. Moreover, his strength has been growing rapidly in the past few years. It won't be long before he can break through to the Saint Realm. It has to be said that the subworld and his concubines are indeed of great help to him, especially the original power in the subworld. Whenever the luck in the subworld of his wives and concubines increases, or something big happens, you can get a trace of original power. After refining the original power he obtained, his cultivation level can be improved rapidly, and with the original power, he can practice to perfection any technique he obtains from the system just by looking at it. In addition, Bai Niao Chao Feng is also of great help to Lu Chen. His wives and concubines improve their strength, and he can also get part of the training feedback. Now Lu Chen is not practicing alone, which makes his cultivation speed reach a point where almost no one can match it. This is something Mu Qinglan doesn't understand very much. She has been with Lu Chen for several years, but Lu Chen has never practiced seriously. Occasionally, he may retreat for a while after a whim, but Lu Chen spends most of his time on women. This was also the reason why she saw Lu Chen anxious but did not use drastic measures to prevent Lu Chen from falling. If Lu Chen hadn't improved at all, she might have gone to extremes and attacked Lu Chen's wives and concubines. She did wonder at the beginning if these witches were dead, would Lu Chen be able to focus on the cultivation level? Of course, this thought only flashed through her mind. After seeing Lu Chen's rapid improvement in cultivation, she no longer had such thoughts. She just felt that the Emperor of Heaven could recover his cultivation level so quickly without practicing. If the Emperor of Heaven practiced seriously, he might be able to fully recover his strength in a short time. After Lu Chen arrived on the Fiheng immortal boat, he stood on the deck of the ferry boat and looked at the endless dark void in the distance. As the Fiheng immortal boat continued to approach the edge of the Chaos Star Sea, the originally endless darkness gradually began to have some light spots. Seeing those light spots, Lu Chen understood that it was a living world. At this time, Lu Chen suddenly thought of something, so he said to Mu Qinglan, "Lanner, I have nothing to do recently, how about you accompany me to the Skyfire world?" Hearing this, Mu Qinglan was stunned for a moment. She did not expect that Lu Chen would make such a request. But then she thought about it, and it seemed that there was nothing wrong with it. The members of the Tianhuo clan were very grateful to Lu Chen. If they knew that the Emperor of Heaven was not dead and even came to see them, they would be very happy. But Mu Qinglan was also slightly worried in her heart. Although she came to Lu Chen's side a few years ago, so far, only a small number of people knew that the Emperor of Heaven had been reincarnated and was in the Chaos Star Sea. Those who knew that the Emperor of Heaven was in the Chaos Star Sea were either the top leaders of the Skyfire clan, or the people from the Skyfire clan who came to the Chaos Star Sea. Now most of the Tianhuo people don't know that the Emperor of Heaven has reincarnated back, and those in the Tianhuo dynasty don't know either. If the Emperor of Heaven returns to the Heavenly Fire dynasty and the news spreads, this will certainly make the people of the Heavenly Fire clan very happy, but it may also let other people in the Heavenly Fire dynasty know that the Emperor of Heaven still exists. There are many people in the Tianhuo dynasty who want to take refuge with the quasi-emperor of Huangshan. If these people know that the Emperor of Heaven whom the Tianhuo clan is loyal to is still alive, they will definitely reveal this news to the quasi-emperor of Huangshan. At that time, the other party will probably send a large army to attack Tianhuo world. The Skyfire world is not afraid of the quasi-emperor of Huangshan. What Mu Qinglan fears most is that the quasi-emperor of Huangshan knows that Lu Chen has just been reincarnated and his strength has not yet been restored. Once the subordinates of the quasi-emperor of Huangshan know that Lu Chen's strength has not recovered, they will definitely kill Lu Chen at all costs, which will put Lu Chen in danger. Mu Qinglan thought about it and finally said, "Your Majesty, the Skyfire dynasty is located in the Huangshan Star territory. If the Huangshan Emperor discovers your existence, it will probably be detrimental to you." Lu Chen said calmly, "Isn't he in retreat? A being with his level of cultivation shouldn't be able to come out of retreat for more than 1,000 years. Besides, I just passed by quietly this time, so he won't notice." Lu Chen's idea is to go to the Skyfire world first, and then create a holy teleportation array in the Skyfire world. If he wants to go to war with the Huangshan Star region in the future, the army of the Great Xia Dynasty will be able to go directly to Huangshan through the Tianhuo Dynasty's holy teleportation array. Star Field. Mu Qinglan hesitated for a moment, but Lu Chen continued, "I plan to create a holy level teleportation array in the Skyfire world. In the future, if the Skyfire tribe wants to go to the Chaos Star Sea, they only need to use the holy level teleportation array to get there quickly." Hearing Lu Chen's words, Mu Qinglan was slightly moved. The aura of the Tianchen world is stronger than that of the Skyfire world. If people from the Tianhuo clan come to the Tianchen world, their cultivation speed will definitely be faster, which will help improve the entire Tianhuo clan. Strength. Mu Qinglan is also a member of the Tianhuo clan, so she is naturally happy to see the Tianhuo clan become more powerful. Just as Mu Qinglan was about to say something else, Lu Chen took out the space-time mirror and immediately contacted Mu Zhengqing in the Skyfire world through the space-time mirror. When he saw Lu Chen in the space-time mirror, Mu Zhengqing quickly saluted and said, "Greetings to His Majesty the Emperor of Heaven." After the words fell, Mu Zhengqing glanced at Mu Qinglan who was next to Lu Chen. He couldn't help thinking in his heart that he didn't know whether their ancestor had realized his wish. "What does His Majesty the Emperor of Heaven have ordered?" Mu Zhengqing asked. In recent years, Lu Chen only asked the Tianhuo world to transport some cultivation resources to the Chaos Star Sea, such as spirit stones, and there were not many other requirements. Lu Chen asked, "How are you doing with the things I asked you to check?" At present, Lu Chen is more worried about the Kanghai sect. The Kanghai sect knows the existence of the Chaos Star Sea. Although the Kanghai sect has not sent anyone for several years, the other party is likely to be waiting for an opportunity. And if the Kanghai sect leaks the existence of the Chaos Star Sea and attracts the attention of the Quasi-Emperor of Huangshan, it will definitely be a disaster for the Tianchen world. So Lu Chen wants Mu Zhengqing to find out the location of the Kanghai sect and find out what the strength of the Kanghai sect is. At that time, they can destroy the Kanghai sect in advance to prevent the Kanghai sect from leaking the news of the Chaos Star Sea. Seeing that Lu Chen was asking about the Kanghai sect, he immediately replied, "Your Majesty, we have already found the world where the Kanghai sect is located, and we have also figured out the strength of the Kanghai sect. The Tianhuo dynasty is relatively powerful in the entire Huangshan Star region, and the caravans of the Tianhuo world are also spread across various worlds, so it is not too difficult for the Tianhuo dynasty to obtain information about a sect." Lu Chen said lightly, "Tell me, how strong is the Kanghai sect?" End of this chapter. Chapter 900 The Unhappy Queen Rainbow. After Lu Chen finished speaking, Mu Zhengqing reported seriously, "Kanghai sect is located in Huangji world. It is the largest sect in Huangji world and controls the entire Huangji world. The strongest person in the Kanghai sect is their supreme elder, who has the strength of the first level of the Saint Realm. It is said that he has been in seclusion these years to attack the second level of the Saint Realm. In addition to the supreme elder of Kanghai sect, they also have a semi-saint, who is their sect leader. The two of them are the strongest, and the rest are all Gigzu realm monks. However, these are all official information. As for whether they have other Saint Realm monks, I haven't found out yet." Lu Chen thought for a while. It was really difficult to deal with the presence of Saint-level monks. He had not yet broken through to the Saint level. At most, he could only use the Holy Glory armor to increase his strength to that of a saint. The strength improved by using the Holy Glory armor is not as good as that of a true saint. As Lu Chen's cultivation becomes stronger and stronger, he feels more and more that the Holy Glory armor is useless. The Shengui armor only improves strength, but does not improve the perception of cultivation. Take the God Transformation Realm monks as an example. Even if the God Transformation Realm monks use the Holy Glory armor to increase their strength to the Return to the Ruins realm, it is still difficult for the God Transformation Realm monks wearing the Holy Glory armor to fight against the real first-level Gigzu realm monks. At this time, there is a great possibility that monks in the realm of gods will be beaten. The Shengui armor only improved the monks' destructive power, but the control and use of power were still not very good. Moreover, the Kanghai sect, a sect that controls the entire world, has a very deep foundation. Maybe there is more than one saint in their sect. If he rashly attacks the Kanghai sect, it may be them who will be worshipped by then. However, Kanghai sect is a huge threat, a time bomb that cannot be dealt with. After thinking for a while, Lu Chen said to Mu Zhengqing, "You continue to send people to investigate the Kanghai sect. It is best to send some people to infiltrate the Kanghai sect and find out how many saints they have." Lu Chen thought, since he has not yet entered the saint realm, there is no need for him to be too anxious. When his cultivation level truly breaks through to the Saint Realm, it will not be too late to take action against the Kanghai sect. Mu Zhengqing said respectfully, "Yes, His Majesty the Emperor of Heaven." Lu Chen continued, "By the way, I plan to visit the Skyfire world." Hearing this, Mu Zhengqing was stunned. His eyes then fell on Mu Qinglan. He thought that it was because Mu Qinglan was blowing wind in Lu Chen's ear that Lu Chen was inspired to go to the world of Skyfire. Idea. As the person who brought the Skyfire clan to the Skyfire world, Lu Chen wanted to return to the Skyfire world again, so of course there would be no problem. The Skyfire clan itself is already loyal to the Emperor of Heaven. If the Emperor of Heaven can come back again, the Skyfire clan will definitely be very happy. However, the current Emperor of Heaven has just been reincarnated and his strength has not been restored. There is a quasi-emperor in the Huangshan star region. If the identity of the Emperor of Heaven is leaked, the Emperor of Heaven will be in danger. Mu Zhengqing didn't want to see Lu Chen take this risk. Seeing that Mu Zhengqing didn't speak, Lu Chen asked, "What's wrong? The Fire Emperor doesn't welcome me." Mu Zhengqing said quickly, "Your Majesty the Emperor of Heaven, it's not that I don't want you to come. The Skyfire world is located in the Huangshan star region, and there is a quasi-emperor in the Huangshan star region. If someone accidentally leaks your identity..." At this point, Mu Zhengqing hesitated to speak. He believed that Lu Chen should understand the danger involved. Naturally, people from the Skyfire clan will not reveal Lu Chen's identity, but there are more than just people from the Skyfire clan in the Skyfire world. Once Lu Chen's identity is known to other people in the Skyfire world, especially if those people who originally wanted to seek refuge with the quasi-emperor Huangshan found out, they would definitely pass the news to the quasi-emperor Huangshan's men as soon as possible. Including Mu Qinglan, there are only 2 saints in the Skyfire world. Mu Zhengqing has no confidence that he can protect Lu Chen's safety. Lu Chen knew what they were worried about, so he said, "You can keep the matter of my coming to the Skyfire world a secret. As long as you don't tell me, no one will know. When the time comes, I will come to the Skyfire world with a different face." Seeing that Lu Chen had said this, Mu Zhengqing had no choice but to say, "Junior understands." "Junior, I dare to ask, what is the purpose of His Majesty the Emperor of Heaven coming to the Skyfire world?" Mu Zhengqing originally thought that Lu Chen came to the Tianhuo world because of the people of the Tianhuo clan. If the people of the Tianhuo clan knew that the Emperor of Heaven had not abandoned them, this would definitely make the people of the Tianhuo clan very excited. But now the Emperor of Heaven told him to keep it a secret. If he kept it secret, the people of the Tianhuo clan wouldn't know that the Emperor of Heaven was back. Wouldn't it be that the Emperor of Heaven was gone in vain? It seems like the Emperor of Heaven has nothing to do when he comes to the Skyfire world. Lu Chen replied, "I am planning to build a teleportation array in the Skyfire world. From now on, people from the Skyfire clan can directly reach the Chaos Star Sea through the teleportation array." Hearing this, Mu Zhengqing was startled again, but he quickly came to his senses. If the teleportation array was successfully created, it would be much easier for the Skyfire dynasty to transport cultivation resources to Tianchen world in the future. Junior understands. This junior is waiting for the arrival of His Majesty the Emperor of Heaven in the world of heavenly fire. Lu Chen said, "Okay, let's do this for now." After finishing his words, Lu Chen turned off the space-time mirror. Then Lu Chen casually took out the star map, marked a point on the star map, and then said to Empress Tianhong who was controlling the formation, "Hong Hong, go to this place immediately." The Rainbow Empress controlled the Fihung ferry boat with an expressionless face and flew towards the coordinates of the Skyfire world at the fastest speed. Lu Chen turned to Mu Qinglan and said, "Lanner, you go practice first." Mu Qinglan said, "Yes, Your Majesty." After the voice fell, Mu Qinglan turned around and returned to a palace on the immortal boat to practice. After Mu Qinglan left, Lu Chen was still standing on the deck of the immortal boat. He stood behind the Tianhong Empress and looked at the solid back of the Tianhong Empress thoughtfully. A few years ago, Lu Chen planned to create a body for the Tianhong Empress, but after returning, he was always obsessed with the gentleness of his wives and concubines. In addition, with the teleportation array, Lu Chen now only needs the teleportation array to go to other worlds. Lu Chen has not taken out the Fiheng immortal boat for a long time, and he has forgotten about it. Today, seeing the figure of the Tianhong Empress again, the idea of creating a body for her appeared in Lu Chen's mind again. At this time, the Tianhong Empress also felt that Lu Chen had been staring at her. For this man who did not keep his word and only knew how to brag, the Tianhong Empress was very dissatisfied. A few years ago, she really thought that Lu Chen had the ability to revive her, and the woman in the flowers also said that she would be resurrected soon. As a result, a few years passed, and Lu Chen did not create a physical body for her, and even the Fiheng Xianzhou stayed in Lu Chen's internal world for many years without being taken out by Lu Chen. Tianhong Empress now feels more and more that she has been deceived, but she can't do anything about it. Her soul power is indeed much stronger, but there is always a law power on the Fiheng Xianzhou that binds her to the Fiheng Xianzhou. No matter how strong her soul power is, she can't revive herself. End of this chapter. Subscribe to Chinese Novel Audio Wave. Thank you.